Can you leave? Yo, 7. um, is the YouTube live working? Can someone verify before I get started? I got the email, so I believe it should be. The YouTube's on my profile. I got a screen share how to do that. Where, yeah, thanks, Lepido. Who else could be me? What is AV? I don't know what that is. Okay, sweet. So Mr. OO, if YouTube works better, swap over there. I have those comments up as well, so I'm checking both chats. So it seems like everything's working. Oh, audio visual. Oh, okay. Okay, thanks. Thanks for verifying. All right, so like I mentioned to y'all, I'm gonna go through. So I flicked through a lot of these maps before starting. I'm just gonna go through a few of the ones that I liked, based purely on the map. I'm gonna pull up each chart, walk through it, show you what I'm looking for. Just just go through that whole charting process. And then whether or not and then sort of decide are out of all those tickers that I think the maps look decent, how many of those are actually going to be like watch list trades that I'll look to enter, right? Okay, so yeah, let's get started. So yeah, starting with first ticker on Heatseeker, right? Apple. Um, yeah, and I have Gex on left, Vex on right. So yeah, Apple actually looks really good. We have this previous resistance from October. We held it as resistance last week before Thanksgiving. Now we've broken above, come and retested 180. So actually, the best entry here was today. If we get above double bottom tomorrow, I'd be willing to take this trade into next week. This 290 node next week is massive. It's been some time since I've seen a node like that, but so yeah, overall, clear support resistance level. The map, we have a strong X floor. Tomorrow's Friday, right? So we either are just going to stay around here, or if this play goes in our favor, we're going to get that bounce starting tomorrow and pushing into next week, right? So to me, this looks quite good. I guess you could take it as a lotto tomorrow as a 0 DTE. That's going to have a lot more risk, obviously. But you could, you could try to play. I'd probably be playing 280 in the money or at the money or 282. But the stronger play here is likely pushing towards 290 next week. And yeah, I guess if any of you are new, right, don't buy 290 calls, please. The issue with that is if price pushes, let's say price pushes and we end the week at 289.6, right? 289.7. Your thesis was right. We pushed basically up to the node, but remember these nodes have a buffer of about $1, $2. So if you buy the same strike as what you're targeting, the big risk there is that your contracts are going to be out of the money and price is going to end right under. So I would encourage probably buy 285s, 287s. For smaller portfolio people, if you have a large portfolio, you might as well just buy 282s, 280s even, and just not stress about this, right? But for those of you who are managing smaller portfolios and the price of the contract is going to be a dictating factor in what trades you take, be very careful to not play, don't go too far out of the money to get a cheaper contract because you could run into issues on something like Apple or whatever other trade it may be. Okay, yeah, so definitely Apple, good trade overall. I'll be leaving that one on watch list. So Adobe, I haven't looked at, so to be clear, that list I sent out, I actually haven't checked the charts on any of those. Apple, I only know because I looked at it today. All these other ones, I just saw positive signs on the maps, right? So on Adobe, I'm seeing this clear range. So my thesis here is, all right, are we gonna bounce off 325 upwards? And if I check the chart and that makes sense, then I'll take that play. If it doesn't make sense, I won't, right? So that's why I say these are not watch lists. This is just a list of maps that were of interest to me. Okay, so on Adobe, we have this range here where we held twice as support in the past, and we've held three taps as resistance, and we now have it in theory holding a support here, right? So the issue here is this bounce off 325 looks like it happened today. Let me drop to the hourly. Yeah, so it looks like we dipped in the morning, bounced off that 325 already. So to me, this Adobe play, it might not be actionable because it already happened, right? So it looks like we might have already tapped this lower side on the VEX. Looks like we had a strong node there as well. We have a bit more volume towards upside. Again, I don't know if we'll push all the way to 335, but we should at least get that continuation upwards, right? So this was a good play. We likely missed it. In the off chance we do get a retrace and bounce again, there's probably some potential here to get another bounce. Now, if we do get that other bounce, to be safe, you probably play next week calls. The nodes into next week and OPEX are not giving us much information, so I would really treat this more as a scalp, as a shorter term play. Okay, but yeah, overall, like the map is good. I think this trade, it already happened though, right? We hit 325, we bounced $5 off 325, right? So this is absolutely an example of a good trade, right? Where we have a wide range. Price was under 325 actually coming in. So we don't try to play, we don't assume that it's going to break through and play upwards. What we do is we just wait for it to break above, come and retest that 325 level, and then we take calls, right? So hopefully that's sort of clear here. Obviously, we missed this setup, but um, if you just want to go back and look at examples of good trades, I would say definitely Adobe was a pretty good one. So yeah, again, like, if you want to catch this, probably what you're doing here is, right, just set an alert down here at around 324, 325, and just try to play that double bottom off this wick from today. Quick rewind of OKLO. Yeah, I can get to that later. Chaser, or for anyone joining just now, I'm gonna first be going through a list of tickers that I identified as potential for good, that have strong potential. At the end, I'll open it up and let people put in some ticker requests and all of that stuff. So I'll be writing down all the tickers, but for now, save those requests until later so we can keep the chat commentary more focused on each map as we go by because they tend to get pretty cluttered. Okay, Samuel Cook on YouTube. Samuel, oh yeah. Hey, how are you doing? Hope you're having a good day as well. Okay, so AI. So AI thesis here is we have this sort of inverse rug pull setup, right? So we have yellow below a purple node, and we have an upside target into next week. So, not too complicated of a thesis there, right? We have VEX target towards upside. It's also showing on GEX. And we have that inverse rug pull or trampoline bounce or whatever you want to call this, this yellow under purple setup. Let me see. So I guess the important thing here is we actually need to claim that 15.5 level. And let me check the chart. Sorry, let me delete these fibs. I don't know when those are from. So let me think. Yeah, so this 15.5 level, uh, it's not the strongest. Like, let me double check further out. I mean, we did have this consolidation block. This was back in September that hovered above it. So it was holding us support there. I guess when we came and retested here, just I guess it held a bit of support here, a bit of resistance. So I wouldn't say it's the strongest level, but it has some argument there. Really, what this is looking more like is AI is trying to break this trend line to upside on higher time frame. So yeah, I'd say this one, like the map looks quite good. I'd be waiting for it to break above and retest 15.5 and hold. Mr. OO, I think everyone can hear me, right? I mean, I've been talking. Hopefully, I haven't been talking 10 minutes alone. Okay, yeah, they're trolling. GLD, yeah, GLD BBAI. I'll get to that later. All right. Okay, so yeah, AI overall has a decent thesis, but I'd be waiting for that 15.5 to claim and hold, and that'd be right about where we're breaking this trend line. So um, only caution here is we're just coming off earnings, so I don't know if those contracts will be a bit juiced or not. So just double check the IV percentages on AI. But I would say AI is a decent argument. Probably not nothing crazy. Um, Nothing crazy in terms of like A plus setup or anything. Yeah, so AMAT have been consolidating a while. We've been on a run the past 2 weeks. The thesis here, and again, this is pretty dependent on it. I really don't think this one will get triggered. The thesis I had was if we have this 280 to 260 range, can we tap either side and then get a reversal, right? So I think with the strength it's had, um, actually, so I don't know what it looked like on Wednesday, yesterday, but 260 is exactly where we pulled back and bounced off of. Actually, let me go to this lower time frames to make sure this was during market hours. Yeah, so it was, right? So we hit 160 overnight, and then we had another tap right at market. No, not right at market open. We had another tap at, yeah, around 9:45 to 10, of 260, and then we've run since then, right? So I don't know what this map looked like then, but if it was anything similar to here where we had this range, this would have been a clear play on Wednesday. Now that that's happened, of course we can, and honestly, this is probably better if we put this as a support resistance flip from the previous day on Tuesday. So again, I don't know if we're going to come retap this level and get another bounce there. With the strength it's had, it might be better just wait for 280 and try to short 280. But again, with these kind of runs, sometimes it's better just say, all right, go with the trend. So wait for pullbacks and long. But since we've already pulled back this week, I think AMAT might not be very actionable. And going into next week, like OPEX is a mess, and next week isn't giving us much information. So this would really only be for like a scalp, but I think realistically that play was missed. So actually, give me a second here. I need to take some notes on some of the stuff I need to write down the setups that I'm actually going to be targeting here. So, Apple, Adobe, um, AI. Okay. Mr. O, you hear YouTube, not at Discord. I'm not sure. It seems to be independent to you if you're listening. Well, if you can hear me on YouTube, you don't have to be in Discord. I would just leave this one. Small cap sector, yeah, small caps ran like Rigetti went insane. I think Giul posted a couple other ones. Rocket Lab, I believe. If it was extended hours, would it make a difference? Chamber, if what was extended hours? The tap of the tap of a level, or what are you asking for there? Oh, I count taps in extended hours. So now the thing is, right, like that tap on Tuesday, right? It depends what time frame you're looking at it. So that tap Wednesday, that double tap of this 260, one was pre-market, one was market hours. If you're looking at it on the hourly or 4 hour, um, this is really just one tap, right? So just be aware of what time frame you're looking at it. I was just curious if it was um, if we actually had an entry during market hours. That's why I went to the smaller time frames. Um, yeah, the reason I asked that is just like, was it a trade that actually would have been possible to take, or was it something that ran pre-market? Okay. JCap, which was AMAT under four figures? Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, we're under four figures, so that's also another reason to be a bit more hesitant. Um, yeah, so that's another fair point, right? Okay, so yeah, let me clear Adobe AI. I've already gone through those. Amazon. Oh shit. whatever. Okay, yeah, Amazon I haven't gone through, I think. Yeah, so Amazon, can we add a top 3 A plus swing setups on the swing idea section on a weekly basis? If we make a section for weekly top 3 of Vic, let me think. We can. I don't think the swing ideas is the best place to put it. Let me think about where we would want to place that. It may be in a different channel, but um, yeah, we can. I can try to get some of like my favorite plays and post them into one consolidated place. I'll talk with Giul. Maybe like the two of us can merge our ideas and post them in the same place going forward. Okay, so Oracle and Tesla. Okay, yeah, Bruno, I'll get to those eventually. Um, I wrote them down. All right. Uh, on the YouTube side, is message retracted that it got deleted? Hopefully it's not getting flagged for like content or like wordage. And hopefully it's just deleted messages. Okay, yeah, so Amazon, let me see here. So Amazon, we have a pretty good support resistance flip here. Oh, whoops, should be here. Yeah, so at this 227-ish level, right? Like we had a double bottom in September, held as resistance here. Um, Here it got kind of violated though, but it held again as resistance here in November, and now we're kind of holding it as support. Um, so on the chart, this 227 level is quite strong. Well, 228. On the map, we have again sort of this inverse rug pull setup, where we can sort of trampoline bounce up. I don't love this setup. Because, well, it's all right. Like looking into next week and even OPEX week, right? We have volume up here at 240 and a bit of volume here at 232 and here a bit here at 215, right? But we do have more volume upside than downside. So it looks like it can get a bit of a push going into next week. And for OPEX week, I wouldn't trust this 260 node to actually hit, but we do have these 245 and 235 nodes very strong. And more importantly, we have very little downside on this ticker. So this is looking like a pretty decent staircase. Again, it's like as Mag 7, this may not be so cheap. So, take a look at contract prices and all of that. But it does look, if we're targeting, I would realistically probably target 245, right? Because even if we push past, that's a bit riskier. There's always a chance we hit here, we come here and reject. So I'd be, if you're trying to get in this, either buy a bit more time and buy 245s or 250s, or try to snag like 240s maybe 2 weeks out. But I would imagine those are pretty expensive. So actually, yeah, let me just go open Robinhood on my phone and check. Um, Amazon. I don't know. I don't know last time I traded Amazon, so I have no idea what these contracts cost. So actually, yeah, 240s are under 200. So actually, okay, this is not as expensive as I thought, but yeah, overall, pretty decent setup. As long as we stay above, keep this support resistance and we hold it. The reason this or sorry, not the reason, but just be wary of this 232-ish level and then also this 240-ish level, this 238-ish level, which was a previous resistance 3 times. So this line here. Uh, Got auto snap on. Okay. Yeah, so we have a strong level 232.7 and 238.7 as well, where we've had on earnings it tapped it and rejected again here in September, and we held it as support in November, right? And actually we rejected off of it to the downside later in November, so and this month. So this 238 level is also quite strong on Amazon. So be aware with these couple levels as price pushes, but overall this setup I think is also quite good. Um, Oh, yeah, no problem. Actually, I didn't even notice the message. I'll check Microsoft later. I think Amazon I just had watch listed. Anyways, Alejandro, yeah, I can get into SPX probably at the end. For now, when I get through this list, just the charting portion, then we can go into SPX later. I don't, at least from memory, I wasn't on in the morning, but I know in the afternoon SPX did look pretty odd. So I don't know if there were many clear setups on it, to be honest. Okay, so on net, we have a pretty good support resistance here. And then we have one here on this previous all-time high. Okay. Let me see here. I'm not sure what I was looking at actually. Yeah, I don't like this at all. I don't know what I was looking at when I saw this. Let me think if there's something I'm missing here. Yeah, issue here is like these levels have just been tested so much, right? So we do have a 125-ish to 131 range. We've already tapped both sides like three times in the past week. So it's a bit complicated to say, are we going to hold or break through or whatever? And then the VEX into next week is, I know upside is bigger, but we still have some downside present right here at 115 and 110. So yeah, yeah, I would. This is not looking great at all. So that might have been, I don't know what I was seeing when I saw that. NVIDIA. Yeah, I'll add NVIDIA to the list. Okay, give me a second here. Okay, so app loving. Let me see here. So yeah, I think I charted this the other day where we have this previous resistance, turn support, resistance twice again, three times. Now can we hold this as support, right? Like can we get that 675 bounce again to push to upside? As of right now, it looks like we're not going to retest that. So what was I thinking on this one? Because it looks like, okay, so yeah, I think I know what I was doing here. So 675 retest and push can be one play here. For this to drop $20 and then bounce as well on a Friday, we don't have much time, so I don't know how much trust I'd put in that play. What I was probably looking for here is can we reach up, claim this upper wick that's near 700, near these pair of nodes here, and the 700 node on VEX, and can we double top and reject downwards? So that was, I think, my thesis on this one actually. So yeah, same thing here, right? Like you could set an alert on upside. You could also set one down here on 675. I'd be surprised if we drop down there and still get a pretty good reaction. Well, if we drop, what you can do is just grab next week calls, and then that should give you enough time for that reaction to happen. Okay, yeah. So AppLovin, it looks decent, but I wouldn't say this is like crazy good. Okay, American Express. Let me see here. Wait, this is American, yeah. So let me see here. I think here it was kind of also a double top. So actually, if this is a double top, these nodes are going to overshoot if we're going for this liquidity up here. But we roughly have this zone here that we rejected in the past. So argument here, and we kind of already tapped this level today actually. So the rejection here might have been today to play it. But the thought here is, we have this rug pull set up. The nodes are a bit weak, but we do have a rug pull set up here. And we have this downside target next week on VEX at 360. So yeah, that's what I'll say the argument on American Express is. Honestly, this one might also be a trade that entry was today and we missed it. So yeah, this might be one I'd let run. Just let it, just watch how it plays out and sort of take it as a study case, or you can wait for a double top if you need. Okay, Silverfish. BE is already on the list. I'll get that later. AFRM I'll cover later. Yeah, I think AFRM, after we bounced off 70 earlier in the week twice and then it broke through, I took that off my lists. But yeah, I can cover it later. AMD and Meta. Yeah, I'm writing these down. I'll cover them all at the end. Right now, I'm covering ones that I found that have decent maps. So yeah, American Express. I think we might have missed entry today. You could try to wait for a double top. But yeah, overall, you're playing next week on this one, so looks decent. I wouldn't say it's anything crazy perfect though. Yeah, but I guess one thing I'll say is, like, if you think you're biased long, some of these, even if they don't look perfect, some of these downside plays can have a lot of value, right? Just to make sure you're not over leveraged in one direction on your portfolio. Okay, BMNR. I'm not sure what I was seeing here. Oh, I think I just noted this. I noticed this weird node down here at 24. So I was just gonna see if there's something on the chart that can justify like us free falling. What the hell is this chart? Okay, this one. Just because we have not so much to go off of. So we do have this support resistance flip here. 36-ish. Which is kind of where we're sitting right now. Let me think here. Yeah, this one, what you're really doing here is you're targeting this 30-ish pair of nodes. That's for the next couple of weeks. So with the ticker this cheap, you should be able to get, well, BMNR might have pretty volatile, the IV might be quite inflated, but you should be trying to see, can you get something that'll finish pretty easily in the money, either for next week or 2 weeks out. And then, yeah, the hope here would be, can this 24 node in kick in a bit and just drop price at least towards 30. But yeah, like I would say this argument's also, it's not great, right? We're really just playing this one support resistance flip, and we're targeting these nodes here, but there's not a clear ceiling, right? Like this clump, I wouldn't really call the strongest ceiling. It's just a ton of nodes, in a $3 range. So yeah, BMNR looks like okay, but I wouldn't uh, take this as a very, yeah. I guess looking at it, I don't think it's much of a setup. Peralta. Oh, I thought he was trolling. CRM and Uber. Yeah, Trini, I wrote those down. I'll get to them at the end. And C. So I think C is already on my watch list, so that's a good find there. Trini. Oh, you're on YouTube and Discord. Got you. Okay. Yeah, so let me get through these a bit quicker, otherwise we're never going to get to those other ones. Okay, so BP, this argument's quite simple, right? If we double top up here, let's try to get some puts. We have strong ceiling here at 37.5. Next week, we're looking at a 35 target. I'm not too concerned, but the kind of a concern here is that, like, this OPEX week node is not also lower. It's on the upside. But, if we're looking at a shorter term play, I'd still be comfortable trying this. So, just set an alert up here, see if we double top, and then try to take that put side play. Okay, so that's BP. Yeah, I like that one, honestly. Looks pretty simple. Okay, wait, let me write those down. So Tesla's on the list, Carvana's on the list. Reddit. Okay. I think MRNA is already on my watch list. QCOM is already on my watch list. GS I'll add. I think Palantir as well is already on it. HTZ. All right. SMP inclusion for which one? WZ? All of them? TLE, yeah. GLD I think is already on the list. Bob Parker. I'll get to that after I go through all these charts. But the quick answer is no. We don't always know what's going to cause all these drops, right? I mean, I can go look at what the maps look like, but there's no way for me to, I'm not. I wish I could tell you that. If I could tell you that answer, I would have a lot more money than I do. Oh, Carvana read it. Okay, okay, thanks. Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, some of these are already in the S&P. All right, so Bros, yeah, so Bros is also pretty decent setup, right? Where we have, um, let me see, yeah, we had this level that rejected twice. We've now broken above on the third test, and we're sort of retesting that 60-ish level, right? So yeah, thesis here is pretty simple. The reason I don't like this very much is because we don't have nodes next week. So we're playing upside on OPEX, obviously, like we do have the 65 and 70 node, so it's a decent thesis. We don't have any node here on the December 12th week expiration. And typically when I'm playing these 2-week plays, I like to see sort of like a consistent build-up. So the fact that next week the strongest node is at 63 and it's 380, 380 on Vex as well, makes me a bit wary of this one. But it's still a decent, it's a good support resistance flip on the chart. So if we can tap 60, maybe worth a lotto, but due to the absence of a strong node next week, I don't love it. It's just more of it's a more speculative play, I would say. Okay, so yeah, Remy, I'll add Marvel to the list. So I know someone had asked for Citibank, and this one's on my watch list anyways. So I think the thesis here, so for any of these tickers that have ran very hard, right? So obviously we missed that move. What we then need to do is wait for any floors to form and play these pullbacks, right? So we have this previous high. Oh, I have an alert here. This is old. Okay. So yeah, we're waiting for any pullback to a major level off the chart or the heat maps. We have this 105.6 based on the previous high here from September. We also have these nodes here at 107 and 106. So that's what I'd be targeting is like, can we get a dip towards these levels? Whether it's on the heat map or this level from the chart at 105.6. And then can we get a bounce going into this OPEX week? So same caveat here as with Bros. We don't have positioning on December 12th, right? So we do have this bit of a gap where we have very little volume to go off of. Um, but if we hold this floor and we do push into OPEX, this could be a nice move. But again, I wouldn't call these A setups because we have that absence of the strong week next week. Okay. VRT, ALNY, CR. I think all of those are not on Heatseeker. CRDO might be on Heatseeker. Remy, I'm not sure. Arush, yes. Can someone ping them the link? It should be in Heatseeker Pro. There's some section there where we're requesting new tickers. If someone has time to do that. Okay, cart. Yeah, so cart, I've never traded this sticker, so I'm not too familiar with it. But what I noticed here is we have 44 sort of as our max upside for this week. And we have progressively lower and lower nodes, right? So for this week, we have 44 and 41.5 as our range. Oh, I wish I could sketch on this screen. I might have to start doing these on Zoom so I can sketch. Okay, so we have 44 to 41.5. Next week, we have 42.5 to 40 is our range. The week after, we have 40 down to 35 is our range, right? So we're sort of stepping down with each week that progresses. And this is what I mean by OPEX nodes that are far away without a progression, I trust less than ones that do have, right? Because obviously on card, if we're seeing this kind of positioning over each week, that tells us that based on the current situation, right? They're trying to drive price lower into next week, and then even lower into 2 weeks out. So these are those staircase patterns, whether it's a staircase up or staircase down. But this is a very good example of those kind of patterns that we're looking for. That if you've watched some of the YouTube videos from Glitch, you would have heard him referencing those. So obviously that's just a map. Going over to the chart, 43 is a pretty good support resistance flip. Um, so I could see it reversing off of this. If you trust the heat maps a bit more, what you can do is just place an alert up here for 40 at 44 or I don't know 43.5, and try to catch that reversal off of that. If we pump tomorrow, hit that level, and then try to play that downside move over 2 weeks, right? Okay, so yeah, card let's say looks decent. We just need to see if we actually get any of those taps that we're looking for. Oh, okay, Remy, thanks. Yeah, thanks for that info. I don't know. Yeah, where do you get that info? Actually, I have no idea for any of that stuff for the S&P inclusion. I don't think I've made any plays on that stuff in the past. I think who was that? I think CGG once. I think he played the Hood inclusion rumor. So he had a pretty nice play there, but that was months ago, I believe. Okay, CDNS. Yeah, now that I look at the chart, I'm pretty hesitant to play this just due to this massive pump that we've had. So the issue here is, right, like sometimes this positioning that dealers will take takes time to roll to other levels. So let's say this 322 position was taken, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or a week ago. If we now rip up upward, if we had this rip up that happened yesterday, sometimes you will see these nodes still look strong as a snapshot, but they'll start to fade, or they've already been fading. So for these kind of setups where you see an extreme move on the map, on the chart, and you just want to make sure the map looked the same before and after, use the replay tool, sort of do your homework there. But at least for right now, I'll probably ignore this one. But the argument here would be, can we hit 340 and then short, and then bounce back down towards 322? So 340, it's a bit of a decent level, right, where we had support in the past in September. Again, here we rejected here in November. So I see the argument here of 340, but due to the recent strength, I'd probably not take that reversal. Okay. Am I able to do SPY? Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can, but SPY, I'll be honest, I charted a little bit, but not much, just because those heat maps fluctuate so much intraday that the thesis you build on SPY is usually something that you don't know the day before, right? It tends to be more, you have to form it throughout the day. If you look at ETA, oh, does BMNR, oh, is it an Ethereum miner only? I thought it was just a general crypto miner. What I say, trying to do a leap play on SPY with heat seeker is not effective. Yeah, I'd say I'm not gonna say it's like zero effective, but it's pretty tricky because where you're basing a leap option off of 5 days of index information, right? Oh, BMNR is not a miner. Oh, but it moves with Ethereum, right? Okay, yeah, so no L, like a better way, if you're taking long-term options on indexes, I would not look at SPY, QQQ, SPX. There's a few ETFs you can track, right? Like I think DIA or some of these other ones. I personally don't chart those because I've always found that they have pretty ambitious nodes. Like if you go look at TQQQ or DIA and some of these other ETFs, and then I look at SPX and QQQ, like on a shorter time frame basis for the week, a lot of times they don't agree, or they're just like they're too ambitious of targets. So a lot of times I don't play those. But I'm not too experienced with swinging indexes, um, so I don't. I would have to think about who to direct you towards for that question. Perhaps I don't know if Winners would know. I don't know how long of index plays he plays. You can't mine ETH, bruh. I don't know. I don't even know what Ethereum is. I just know. I just know it's a crypto. My bad.
Look, man, I don't know what half of these things are, right? I'm just doing pattern recognition based off these heat maps. So, Giul, you want to speak? Nah, just kidding. I just don't know how to do it. Give me a second. 1 second, guys. I'm trying to figure out how to get Giul to talk. Are you even in here?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm
What's
going
up,
on
bro?
mute, but I just wanted to have permission in case I can answer a question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, appreciate that, bro. Okay. Let me make sure I didn't miss a question. People started spamming. Yo, what's up, Kevin? Bro, I don't actually know who you are. Oh, wait. Oh, nah, never mind. I remember you. LRCX. Yeah, I'll chart that. Try hard. Bruh, try hard Brawl Star. Come on. Where y'all get these usernames, bro? Brawl Star's the Supercell, like the newest game? I'm dead. Okay. Yeah, what's good, Cam? Giul. Giul, you're getting a request for an in-depth answer as to why you wouldn't leap an index. So I think we're expecting a couple minutes answer on that one.
Can you hear me good now or no?
Yeah, we
Like,
can hear you.
is it possible?
Yeah, we can
I
hear you.
just think you know, logging an index, we'll say like a leap. So that's like that has to be at least like 7, 8 months, 9 months. I just think there's so much uncertainty. You're gonna have so many drawdowns, so many choppy days. Like you have to be mentally confident. And heat seeker right now only goes up to 5 weeks. That's not really what I would call a leap. I think eventually we are going to go up to, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 weeks and more. I think once we get that done, doing leaps will be a little bit better. But we're in a tough market right now. I wouldn't even swing. I'm not even swinging like a week long. I don't even have the balls for that because one news drop and we tank like $8, $9, $10 in SPY. Now your cons are down 50, 60, 70%. There's like so much uncertainty, especially with like Trump in office, that I don't think it's a good thing to do. I think when Biden was in office, like, yeah, you could have bought leaps on SPY for like 2 months out and just consistently banked and made profit because we were in such a consistent bull market. I think now it's a very news driven market. And like, I don't even see myself swinging like anything like 2, 3 weeks. I can't imagine swinging something, 8, 9, 10, 11, 2 years out. So it's just something I wouldn't do. I'd rather the thing is, you have a powerful tool that you can predict moves within the week. Why are you going to just gamble your hard-earned money on something a year out and just hope it hits? Not using heat seeker, you know what I mean? So that's just my 2 cents with that.
Okay, thanks, Joel. Okay, so no L. Yeah, now you had to leap, so I guess that's why we went on the full extreme. Yeah, if you're swinging a few days, a week, 2 weeks, uh, Loon, if you have time, I'd recommend you message Loon. I know she trades that very often. I don't have too much experience playing, 3 to 4 day swings on indexes. So, if Loon has time, I would reach out to her. She's very experienced with that. Yeah, so I think by definition, leaps. I don't know if by definition they're 1 year, but you're typically talking longer than half a year. Okay. All right. Back to. Okay, you meant swings. Okay. Yeah. Swings you can do, because that's not within the realm of like the information we actually have. No worries. Um,
it's probably good to clarify that in case, for yourself and in case anyone else is new. So no worries at all. Better to make those mistakes while there's a lot of people that can answer them or that can correct them. Okay. All right, back to these charts. So CEG, yeah, looking at this is probably not too great of a setup, actually, now that I'm looking at this. I think what I was looking at here is, can we hit this resistance and just target these downside OPEX nodes? Because they're quite large, and they're pretty wide range on them, honestly. It's not a great ceiling, though. Like, it's not a very strong ceiling. This is also a level we've tapped 3 times. There's a risk we break above. So yeah, CEG, I'd probably, yeah, this is not good read. I guess potentially what you could look for is, do we hit 385 and 390 next week and then reject all the way down? Not all the way down, but at least down a bit. But nah, overall, CEG is probably, yeah, I don't know. When I'm looking through these maps, I'm flicking through them pretty quick. So yeah, there's clearly a couple misses I've had. Okay, all right, so this major node is a long time ago. Celsius, let me think. So Celsius actually, I wonder what it looked like last week. This actually had a good upwards move since last week. So I think Celsius, I was assuming price was a bit lower actually, and I was looking for sort of this rug pull here downwards into next week towards 41.5. If we remain above 42.5, 42, I wouldn't. Yeah, again, this one I wouldn't look at too much. Like, we've had this support resistance flip tested the 3rd time now. So there's a chance Celsius breaks above. So yeah, Celsius, don't like it too much now that I look at it longer. We do have downside next week and 1 month out. But yeah, based on the chart, I don't know. I don't like it too much based on chart. Okay. Also, I think Celsius is, I don't know if it's like technically a meme stock, but I know it's usually not like a super stable stock. Okay, CRM. Yeah, I think CRM is more of a, it's a bit of a risk here, right? We don't have any volume on the next week. But we do have higher up LPX nodes, and we do have this inverse rug pull on 250 and 252 set up right now. So if we're able to stay above, this could act as sort of our trampoline and give us a push into next week and the week after. Again, I don't love this one because we don't have any volume for next week, but the entry point looks, you can justify this entry point in my opinion, and then we do have a target, so I do think like this play could work out. But the lack of next week's nodes, volume on next week, makes me a bit, makes me not love it. Chamber of X, yeah, so I'll post them over in Swing Ideas or on Twitter or something, but I forgot to do it Tuesday. I fell asleep before I did that, but Vic, you're saying Card is the only one on stream that's looked good? Check Apple, AI, Amazon. I think there's a few that I had already gone through. I'm writing them down, so I'll go through it then, then I'll post them into Swing Ideas. But um, all right, December OPEX, yeah, December 19th. um, so yeah, with the OPEX notes, guys, the reason that sometimes we don't trust them, right, is that those positions, they're very large positions that are sometimes taken, not sometimes, they're taken immediately after the previous OPEX, right? So it's a ton of volume. OPEX weeks tend to be very, very volatile. Some of those positions are taken very long ago, so they're taken, like let's say, you take a position, or whoever it may be, right? But these large nodes are formed. Sometimes tickers will beat or drop on earnings. So a lot of those positions will be a bit invalid. So there's a reason like these OPEX nodes tend to be all over the place. A lot of times they're very optimistic targets. So there's a reason we say like take it with a grain of salt. or expect the move in that direction, but not the full magnitude of the move, is because we've seen in the past that these nodes will sometimes throw us off in terms of where those targets actually end up. Okay. Yeah, so CRM I already talked about. So we have they're benefited when you buy loons. So you're saying when you take them as a target off of any like steep sell-offs, like I don't know, the China tariff one or something like that. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, okay, yeah. So Loon brings up a good point there. And Loon, I think you tend to play a lot longer holds than most people, whether it's for indexes or individuals. So in terms of these longer dated plays towards a month outwards, Loon has good experience on those. The case of Amazon. Right, right. So on Amazon, yeah, to your point, Michael, right? Like we have the peak node is way higher, but we have to start looking at what nodes are in the way that can roadblock us, right? And as we approach those, like if we approach those, we scale out at that point and leave runners or just completely exit. But we need to just, don't always just track this king node, but also track what nodes exist under it and in the way, right? Lulu. Yeah, I'll write Lulu down. Okay, this stream is about to be hours. 12-week out? Shia or Shay? I don't know. 4743 on YouTube. I don't. What do you mean by 12 weeks out? Okay, EL. Yeah. So I don't like this play at all. So my thesis here on the maps, right, is we're having this staircase downwards. The reason I don't like it at all is because it's been ripping the past 2 weeks. So I think some of these nodes may be fading and shifting higher. And we're also reaching this level, which has already been tested twice. So there's a chance here that, of course, there's a chance we reject and this thesis plays out, but there's also a chance that we break through and push on upwards. So EL, I'd say, is a bit indecisive. EL, I'm curious if we look back at this double bottom, how obvious it was, because this is a crazy move. I've had $20 up in, yeah, that's crazy. $20 up in like 2.5 weeks. Okay, so FedEx. So yeah, EL, I would not be looking at that. Okay, so FedEx, I still have an alert, actually. I don't even know when I set this, but so FedEx must have had a similar map last week, maybe? If I'm setting that same. Oh, Shia. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I know. I think there's some plans to extend like the date, like how many columns these maps have. I don't know the timeline of when that will be released or if it'll be released. I know it was like hinted at, but I don't know the kind of effort that would take on the on the programming side on the tool. So, anyways, all right. So FedEx, yeah. So this one's pretty simple as well, right? We're looking for a double top, so we sweep this previous swing high, which aligns with this 277, like very large node, and then we're targeting this downside, right? We have 260 next week. And on OPEX, we have 260, 250, even 230 with a bit of volume. So yeah, I think this FedEx one is pretty clear. The main concern here is if this 285 node picks up a ton of volume, then I'd be worried about some of this volume shifting upwards. But OPEX week looks biased almost completely downwards. Next week has more bias downwards at this 270 and 260 levels. And we have a very strong ceiling, right? So I can see this. The argument on FedEx, I think, is pretty decent. Okay. Let's go to the next one. So yeah, G Vernova. So let me see. What was this? Actually, I'm curious on something. Friday. Yeah, that's pretty funny. All right, yeah, G's gone up like $100. Okay. Yes, let me think here. I think on Vernova, what I was looking at is we have this strong 627 floor. So if we're able to bounce off 627, it lines up with this wick here from a few weeks ago. Can we push up to the 642-ish that I'm seeing on VEX especially, right? So again, if you play this, buy like the closest to the money contract you can. But let's see, I guess my thesis here is, can we retrace, tap this, and then push towards this higher level around 340-ish? Sorry, 640-ish. Shea butter? Shea butter? I don't know the butter, so that's not helping. My bad. Um, yeah, so for Nova, I wouldn't say this is a great setup. I'd say it's an okay setup. This OPEX nodes are interesting. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, a pullback and continuation here doesn't look too bad. I don't know. This one I'd put maybe. I'll say it's a good setup, but this is probably one of the weaker ones. Okay, IBM, MSTR. I mean, I'll chart MSTR. I don't ever play that. Shay. Oh, okay, Shay. Thanks. Okay. IBM. So on IBM, we have this king node up at 315 on VEX. We have a strong floor on GEX right here at 307. And we also have a bit of a target. So this one's tricky, right? We only have 1 day for this move to happen. So I probably wouldn't call it an A setup, but we do have a very strong floor here at 307. So if we're able to hold that, basically what's happening here is if we're able to have this consolidation for the past week, if we're able to break above, retest, and then push, I could see that breakout happening here on this consolidation block. You might want to buy next week contracts just to be a bit safe, or just buy something that's at the money, basically. So if we get that break and push, even if we end at 310, 312, like this should be a pretty good move. But will it reach 315? I'd be surprised, to be honest. But overall, like the setup looks decent. It looks pretty good in terms of like we have a strong floor, VEX targets upside. But just be careful with your contract selection on these. Rich Robotics. What is the ticker on that? If you can, please. John B on YouTube. Okay, Intuit. Okay, yeah, so this one, I don't remember what the other ticker was that I mentioned earlier, but when we have these lower nodes positioned, but you look at the chart and it's just been ripping, what to me, what this means is there's a risk that this is just nodes that we are already at. We just got delivered from, so this is volume that's going to tail off, or it's just going to be incorrect. So I don't, yeah, into I wouldn't look at this much. Okay, Coca-Cola. Yeah, Stonky, I have GLD listed, so I'm going to look at that. Once I go through my watch list, I'll look at that one. I think I'm like halfway through my watch list, so let me start picking this up. So yeah, Coca-Cola, we have a bit of a staircase. It's not the strongest, like there's just not much range, right? This is only saying we're gonna have like a $3 move in 2 weeks. But Coca-Cola is also a ticker that just doesn't move very much. It's pretty slow. They don't just have random pops. So yeah, this one we're at a floor. Well, 70 would be our floor. Actually, yeah, 70 on the chart. I don't like that level at all. I mean, we held that level here in November, but previous to that, it's not a very strong level. So yeah, I don't know about Coca-Cola. I don't know how much I like this setup. This is probably a fib retracement, I would imagine. Yeah, 70 is roughly the golden pocket, but yeah, I don't know how much I love this setup. It's just probably not enough range. Even though it does give a bit of a staircase, it's probably not enough range for this to be a good trade. Okay, so Lockheed Martin. Who trades Coca-Cola? Dude, I don't know. I grew up near Atlanta. Gotta represent Coke. No, bruh. Just leave it as soda. Lockheed Martin. Okay, so I think what I was seeing here is we have the ceiling at 447, 450. Can we target that 440 node on VEX? This has a bit of a not too positive on this one. The reason being we just got delivered from 440, right? We just double bottom down there. So this one, I'd say it could be a case of this volume just hasn't rolled higher. So there's potential here. We're playing the support resistance flip. But I'd be a bit wary just because we just got delivered from 440. Okay, MRK, this one I didn't know. I'm pretty sure someone in the server the past week or two has talked about they were in calls on this. Bruh. Christian, there's like 3 people from Atlanta. Well, I don't live there anymore. That's where I did grow up. Well, that's where my family still is. Casey Trades. Okay, yeah. I had known someone had talked about MRK. So I know they just ran MRK up. Like they caught part of this move, I would imagine, that he caught. Right now, though, it does look like a rug pull setup. The reason I like it, well, let me see. Going into OPEX, this rug pull, there's a ton of volume downside. But because we just ran up, right? We ran up before these OPEX positions were taken. This is the point I was trying to make earlier, right? Like these OPEX positions are put in right after the previous one, right? So with this whole pump we accounted for, sometimes they're positioned based on the previous price. So sometimes these nodes come true, sometimes they don't, right? So I would trust maybe the 98, 97 level on OPEX week. But definitely that 85 would be I'd be pretty shocked if it dropped that far. But we do have a rug pull set up for this week, Friday. Issue here again is we don't have any volume next week, right? So I wouldn't call this an A setup either, but it's, you can justify the setup. I wouldn't say it's a great one. Okay, MRNA, I know someone has for this. J&J, nah. Mojo, I don't think you were here I don't think you're from Only Bangers, but there's some guy, Boston loves J&J, so I'll leave that to Boston. Actually, probably, I guess most people don't know who Boston is anymore. Just Giul. MP, yeah, I can write down MP. When usually does December 12 expiry show their hands? Mr. O, so we don't know, right? Like, there's some tickers that next week has a lot of volume, and some tickers we don't know. So the way I treat it is if there's no volume for next week, and I prefer to see volume on next week if I'm going to play something for OPEX because I want to see that consistent growth or decline in positioning. If I don't see that, I just wait, right? I just ignore it for now. Next week when I chart again, if I see it show up, then I form a new thesis. But if there's no guarantee of which tickers are going to have it and when it's going to show up for a ticker, right? If we're looking 2 weeks out, I'm typically looking at Vanna at the VEX maps, Mr. OO. But the gamma is very useful for entries, right? So if you notice on some of these, I was saying like there's a rug pull set up on the gamma, but our downside targets are on Vanna, right? So you need to use them in conjunction. WZ, do I still put plays in Only Bang? No, nobody talks in that server. Otherwise, if a few people talked, maybe I would, but it's gone pretty dead. Yeah, no problem, Mr. O. How do I determine chop days versus flow days? Cam, are you saying on indexes? Home Depot, yeah, Christian, I'll put Home Depot on the list. Holy, yeah, holy crap, this list is long. All right, I don't know how long everyone plans to stay on this, but this stream is probably going to be like until midnight at this rate. Okay, so MRNA, what I'm looking at here is pretty simple, right? We have a floor at 25.5, which is Let me think about this one. So the thesis on the maps, right, is that we have a floor at 25.5, and then we're going to push towards 27 king node on Vex. So we have this upward push. The reason I don't like it is because there's a risk of a double top, right? There's a risk of this double top here at 26. So I don't love MRNA. The other thing you can do here is the push upwards to 27 looks a bit risky. If we do end up pushing to 27, what you could look into is trying to take a put play 2 weeks out. So you see that this 23.5 node on VEX as well as this 24 and 22 node on OPEX week. So I see a couple like plausible trades on MRNA, but neither of them look super great. So probably just skip that one. Okay, now we have MU, or what is this, Micron? Oh, what was I looking at here? Okay, so here, what I'm playing is we have this previous, I don't know if this is all-time high. It looks like it might be. Yeah, so previous all-time high, you know, rejected a couple times. We broke above, held a support again here, rejected, held a support here. So the thesis here is, can we hold this zone again, sort of this wick down here, all the way down to 225, once more as support? And we have this sort of inverse rug pull set up at 225 to bounce upwards. And we'd be targeting this 235 node this week, 240 next week, and 240 on OPEX, right? So I don't. Oh, holy shit! And this 280 on OPEX. Yeah, I was gonna say this coloring looked weird. Okay. Yeah, so 280 to me looks, that's not realistic, but we can at least target, you know, 240, let's say. But yeah, so if MU holds this 225 level, I think it does look pretty good for push upwards. Oh, it has earnings? Wait, what? I thought earnings showed up on this. No, it doesn't have earnings still. Okay, so you can also play the run up to earnings, right? Because a lot of times as the IV goes up on contracts, if it has a good setup and it pushes up as earnings run up and you just sell right before, some of those plays are strong sometimes. Okay, so yeah, MU. Yeah, I like MU. It's not bad. Okay, I think Giul's answering some of these questions. Yeah, Cam, the background color, don't worry about that. Just worry about where the volume is. WZ, yeah, thanks for telling me about the MU earnings. Yeah, Michael, I mean, like whenever we have these like super extreme nodes, like, you know, take note of them and use them as bias, but like to expect MU to rip $50, like that'd be, you know, in 2 weeks, that's crazy, right? So make sure you're still targeting something that's realistic, right? So when you're picking out contracts, you're still using our rules of like our general advice of, you know, try to find contracts that have a zero 0.3 delta or above. Make sure it's something that's not oversized for whatever your portfolio is. You know, like still follow those different rules. So of course we can get upwards bias from that 280 node, but to expect it to go hit is pretty bold. SMCI is on the list. Is it? I think SMCI is on my list. So this is recorded. Yeah, Kid Gordon. So actually, I think if you go to YouTube, you can actually replay right now. I think that's how the lives work. You can actually scroll back. Okay. Yeah. So moving on to net. WZ IV run up. I actually don't know. Now you say that. I've done it a few times. I guess I've never noticed like what week it actually starts spiking. So you might have to look online for that or ask for somebody in the chat because I mean I know people do it. I'll be honest, I don't do it too often. Like I've only done it a few times ever probably. So there might be someone that has a better answer for you there. Okay, so moving on to net. Are you source streaming at 480? I have no idea. I don't know. Everyone said the stream seems fine on Discord. I like the monitors 4K, but I think the max Discord allows is 1440, and the YouTube as well. I think that's the max. Palantir's on my list. CK and K on YouTube, so I'll get to it. No worries. Yeah, I don't know why I added net to my list. I don't really like this. I think my argument here is that there's just a lot of upside nodes on Vex, so would we be able to bounce off 195 upwards? But yeah, I'll be honest, I don't like net at all, so we can skip that one. Nike. You need to Bruh, dude, Mike. Um, you need to have Discord Nitro to watch high quality stream. No way, right? That's a scam. Mr. O. Oh, I mean, there's a delay, but I'm still reading the comments, so like I'll still answer all the questions that come in on YouTube. I do have this Discord Nitro. I'm pretty sure I put everything at the max. People think I don't got Nitro, bro. I bought it like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I think. Look, there's proof. BBAI, yeah, that's on the list. CK, so I'll get to that eventually. All right. These people keep distracting me. All right, Nike. So yeah, Nike's in this big support resistance flip zone. We have the 66 level as a floor. Well, not right now. If we're able to claim the 66 level as a floor, then longs into OPEX look okay. We have some volume, at 70. Again, this is one of those setups we don't have very much volume next week, so it looks okay, but it's not definitely not like an A setup or anything. OKLO, I think someone had asked. Yeah, Mr. O, like just message on YouTube. I'm answering all the questions that come in through there, so you're not gonna miss much if it's just like a few minutes delay or a few seconds or whatever it is. Okay, so OKLO ran really hard. The only reason I like this is because it's retracing overnight. So if we open and we still have these 105 nodes, right? On Vex, our range is 105 to 120, and on Gex, we also have this 105 floor. So if we open around 105, I'd be willing to take longs on this and probably be targeting like 110, right? The reason you don't target 120 or any higher is because this 110 can serve as a resistance on the Gex, right? So, but yeah, okay, low. If the current levels hold, I'd say you can try bounce off 105. 1 second, I got a ping. Can you join? What? Sorry, I'm replying to a message in the. I don't know if this guy got kicked out of YouTube or something. Who knows? Okay, yeah, so that was okay low. PDD. Yeah, PDD is a bit more speculative into OPEX. Like we have a ton of higher nodes, but due to it selling off after earnings, I trust those a bit less. If you want, you can still try to play this 116 bounce, right? Like this is our floor of the week. But yeah, with I guess seeing that it tanked off earnings combined with the fact that we have very little volume next week, PDD I'm not very interested in. Okay, PENN. I don't know what this is. Oh, yeah, so PENN, actually, I need to take this off my watch list. 1 second. Because I usually don't play monthly tickers. So I must have forgotten that I had this and I didn't take it off. All right. Yeah, so PENN. What the hell? I don't know what's going on here. Okay, my bad. Okay, yeah, so PENN. Yeah, the reason I added this one is because this map looks pretty clean. Obviously, these are monthly expirations. So you're going to be looking, they're either going to be more expensive or you're probably going to be looking. Oh, well, these will be for next week, actually. So what happened with PENN, we had a double bottom. We have this level that was previous support, was a resistance during the W on the double bottom, and it's now we're testing it as a support again, right? Combine that with the fact that GEX has a strong floor and the VEX has no floor, right? And so VEX is showing upside, GEX is showing we're at the bottom of the range, and we have upside. So to me, this looks like a pretty good setup. Trend line, nah, it's not really a trend line, but so to me, yeah, I like the setup. I usually don't play monthly tickers, but this is for next week's node, so it's really just a week and a half. It's a 1 week play. No, sorry, 2 week play because we're playing OPEX. But overall, I think it looks quite decent, so I'll still watch list this one. Um, the other thing I'll say is I've never played this ticker. Like I have no idea I don't even know what it is. It's cheap enough that you can also consider doing shares if you're sketched out by the fact that it's not something you've played before. You can always try shares on this. Okay, Palantir. I know a few people asked for this one. Chicken, bruh. I haven't been to Magic City, dog. These people, man. So yeah, Palantir's been on a pretty good rip. The reason I included this one is we do have, next week we have 190, 185 lit up, and OPEX week we have 185 all the way to 210 lit up. We have 175 as our floor, right? So what we'd be waiting for here is can we retrace down to 175, right? So roughly this level here. Well, I guess a bit higher, but roughly these levels. Can we retrace, tap that, and then bounce, right? So Palantir looks okay if we're waiting for this 175 level. So set an alert. If it hits, and then you can try 2 weeks out or 1 week out. But again, don't for any of these tickers that's had like a pretty sustained upwards move over a week or 2 weeks. Always make sure you're waiting for pullbacks, finding floors on the maps, and then playing off of those. So yeah, Palantir looks decent if we're able to get that tap. Can we see your watch list in the bakery Discord? Oh, you're from Breadman's Discord. No. What you can do, I'll post it to Twitter. So CK, try to find me on Twitter. If you can't find it, just let me know. I'll send the link in there, but just follow me on Twitter and I'll try to post some of these out there. I'll do that after stream. Mars, yeah, Galaxy, I'll chart. There's a pretty big queue, but I'll chart it after. Okay, QCOM, I think someone had asked for this. So QCOM sort of the same, right? We've had a pretty good push. Can we get some kind of pullback, level to hold as a floor, and then can we push higher, right? So QCOM, what I'm looking at is can we hold this 175 and then target this 180 next week and 185 the week after? We do have a bit of volume to downside. That's a bit concerning on OPEX, but I would say like this week, this strong node next week helps me trust this upside a bit more. But this is kind of a rug pull setup. I don't know. QCOM, I might wait till next week, honestly, to see if this is a bit more clear. But this 175 could act as a floor, but if we drop, this could also drop quite a bit. So QCOM, I might wait, see if we get a nicer pullback, maybe towards the 170-ish region. Then we can long off that. But it does look pretty biased upwards based on that VEX map. Okay, Roblox. Okay, so I'd been waiting for a double bottom on Roblox that never got hit. That was an old alert. Okay, so Roblox, we have a pretty clear inverse rug pull right at 93. I need to find the term for that. I don't want to keep saying inverse rug pull. It's just not what's annoying. Okay, so if we're talking for a retrace down to 94, 93, the play there is can we bounce on that floor? It also has good volume on VEX on 93, and can we push towards $100 or even a bit higher? I would not be targeting that 110 on OPEX at all. I'd probably just be targeting 100 2 weeks out. Because yeah, even 100 by next week seems like a pretty large move. So yeah, I would try to buy a bit more cushion here and just look for the OPEX week 100 node. And if we get that move next week, you just sell early. You might as sell early and just be done with it. But yeah, Roblox looks decent if we're able to get that tap. The main issue here is that tap doesn't align with anything. It doesn't look great on the chart, right? Like this is not a very good support resistance level. At this point, the only argument we have here is probably like a fib retracement or something. So yeah, if we dip, we're hitting like a golden pocket roughly. But so yeah, I guess the main argument here is the chart. Yeah, I'd say I don't love this setup too much just because the chart doesn't support it very much. So yeah, maybe Roblox is not actually a great setup. I've sort of talked my way out of it. Okay, RTX. Yeah, this is same. There's been a lot of setups like this where I'm not willing to call them A setups because they're at a clear floor and we have upside targets, but we have no nodes next week, right? There's no volume on 12/12. So I'm hesitant to call this like a great setup because we don't have anything to guide ourselves with for next week. But if you're willing to take the risk or maybe just a smaller position, you can still target these OPEX nodes with the bounce off 170. Okay, we're getting to Starbucks. Okay, so I'm almost done with my list. Then I can start getting into some of the requested ones. I don't know what I was seeing on Starbucks here. I think I'm playing here is more the inverse rug pull on the maps, and then the hope that if we hit this 87 level again, it's gonna crack, right? Now that we've tested it 5 times basically, and then push up to these UpX nodes. Yeah, I don't. This is not a super strong setup. Again, we don't have volume next week, and even the range this week is very limited. So I don't. Yeah, maybe the setup isn't the greatest. So let me see. We're on silver. Okay, silver. So what was I looking at here? Oh, okay. So silver has strong node at 52, but it has a very strong node on Vex at 50. So I think the thesis here was, can we hold that 52 level as a ceiling and then just tank towards 51 or 50? So that was the thesis there. It's just the thing I'll say here is I don't play commodities very often. Like I don't think I've ever traded silver, honestly. I think I've traded gold a couple times. So I don't have much experience with these, but based on these maps, I would say we're having 52 as a ceiling, and then can we get 50 as a target? And so can we get silver to drop off tomorrow? Okay, so yeah, I think this one looks decent. Just with the caveat of I don't have much experience playing these commodities. But yeah, okay. SMCI, I know someone asked for this. I also had it watch listed. So yeah, for those of you that are like asking for tickers, right? If it's something I've spotted already, that probably means you're looking for the right things. So yeah, just know you're on the right track there. Yeah, so this one, we have a strong floor on GEX. We have a pretty wide range here of like $2 left still for Friday, for tomorrow. And we do have that upside VEX node up at 36 and 36.5, right? We also have this level, which is sort of in our support resistance flip. So now the question is, can we fight above this, hold 34 support, and can we get a push upwards on SMCI and break out for Friday or even into next week, right? If you want to take this with more safety, just buy next week's calls instead of 0 DTs. And that goes for all the plays actually, right? A lot of them are, if they're for this week, obviously there's 0 DTEs because there's only 1 day left. If that's too risky for you, buy an extra week, buy extra 2 weeks if you want, and then have your play not be as, it's gonna fluctuate much less if you do that. But overall, SMCI, decent setup here. So I'll write that one down as well.
Scarface, yeah, Tesla's on the list. I'm gonna go through it once I get through mine. There's some, yeah. The reason I don't know if the Tesla map looks good or not. The reason I don't have it on mine is that I don't even have it on my watch list. Like the pool of tickers I go through doesn't have Tesla. I don't trade it. So I think SMH, what I was looking for is, can we get under this 360 level, have this set up as a rug pull, and can we flush towards these OPEX nodes for 2 weeks out? And next week we have a bit of volume at 350, 345, so it's a tiny bit to go off of. Not great, but it's still a little bit. So yeah, my thesis here is, can we crack under 360 and then have SMH flush to downside? Oh, this is an ETF. Actually, scratch that. Scratch that. I generally don't trade ETFs. The reason is, if you look at SMH Semiconductor, what you should really be doing to, well, I'm not saying you can't play them, but what you should be doing to trust this setup is you should go check everything that makes it up, right? The major players that make up this ETF, right? And that will give you guidance into, is it just the ETF pointing down, or is the whole sector pointing down? And obviously, if the whole sector is pointing down, you trust it a lot more. Okay, so yeah, actually, I need to take that one off my watch list as well. Okay, Snowflake, we tanked on earnings. It does have still a pretty strong staircase, right? So we have 350 lit up next week. There's a few nodes higher for 2 weeks out. Obviously, that's a lot of those positions were probably taken before this earnings tank. So again, take them with a grain of salt. But if we're able to hold this floor, so this level here, previous resistance, 2 times support. More recently, it's been support here, November 21st. So, can we come tap this 232 level, double bottom, and then push upwards? So again, on this one, it's just set an alert. Once that alert gets triggered, see what the maps look like. If they look similar, then you can look to go long on this one. But yeah, we just tanked off earnings, so always be a bit cautious there. Okay, T-Mobile. But yeah, overall, Snowflake doesn't look bad. Okay, T-Mobile. So yeah, I think on this one, I was seeing this 220 nodes for both next week and OPEX, and as well as this 230 on OPEX. So I was biased long. The issue is like what floor we're playing. So there's a floor here at 205 where we had as consolidation. So you can either wait for that to tap or just try to take it where it is now. But again, this one, we do have some volume next week. It's not the strongest, but we do have a bit. So I would say T-Mobile, you do have that argument of, okay, we have both next week and OPEX week pointing up. So just wait for some kind of pullback tomorrow, and this could have good potential. Okay, Twilio. Okay, my watch list is almost done. Then we can get into some of the requests. UPST. Yeah, I'll add UPST to my list. Okay, so Twilio. What is this alert from? Huh. I don't know. Let me delete this. Okay, Twilio, what do we have here? Oh, this chart is wrong. This map is wrong. Oh, okay. So what I thought we had is that we're at the top of the range at 128. We're at these couple of, they're not large, but like semi-large yellow nodes. And we were targeting that downside GEX and VEX, right, at 123. So obviously that'd be very good risk reward. That's like a $5 move in one day. Looks like Twilio's already dropped, so I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure what the heat map's showing. This might just be a glitch on the price that they have here, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend chasing this. The risk reward is almost gone, right? From 125 to 123, that's now a $2 move. Before it would have been a $5 move, right? So actually catching this either today. So today we hit 128 and then dropped, right? So either today or even yesterday off this 130, I don't know what the maps look like at those times, but if the map today looked like this, that bounce off 128 would have been pretty good thesis. And TWLO obviously is playing out quite well. But yeah, for now, it's not going to be playable for us because it already dropped. Okay, so yeah, Texas Instruments. So for this one, oh, this is a pretty good level. We have a level like roughly here. Support, resistance is now we wicked above, and it seems like we're holding it again as resistance. This 180-ish level. We do have a bit of a rug pull set up. These nodes are not super strong, but they're okay. What I'm more so interested is, we have that rug pull set up on the GEX. Combine that with the 172.5 node and the 165 node on OPEX on the VEX, and that gives us a pretty good staircase down. So I'd say Texas Instruments looks pretty good. Okay, last few ones. So we have WMB. I think I've only traded this ticker like once or twice, so I don't have much experience here, but let me see. So let me put this on daily because this is more of a month-long play. Down to 53. Let me think. So WMB, I'd be looking to see if we can like double top around here. If we can double top and then reject that 64.5 level and push downward over the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks even. The staircase looks very clear. What I might suggest for this one is because we have no volume this week, just wait for next week. Double check everything still looks good. If 64 is still our ceiling, then you can try to short this. But playing it right now is probably jumping the gun. So I would just wait for next week and then try to play WMB if the setup looks similar. Okay, Wolf. So I think I added this one as well based on, so I know this one had their IPO lately. So like I think Fig also had IPO lately, and I think some people did trade that one to pretty good success. But I don't like the data set for taking plays on tickers that have been recently IPO'd is not too big, so maybe just be cautious on that. But Wolf does have a very clear stair-stepping pattern starting next week, right? So I think what you do here is say, okay, can we drop back down, hit 17.5, hit a double bottom here, and then can we take a long off that, right? I probably wouldn't do anything unless we hit that 17.5, so there's not really much to look at here right now. But yeah, maybe set an alert, forget about it. If it taps, it taps. If not, this is just going to keep running. Okay, then lastly, Zillow. Okay, so Zillow also has a pretty good stair-stepping down pattern. What I'm looking for here is can we pop tomorrow or even next week and then hit one of those upper sides of the staircase and then we can take a short downwards. Actually for Zillow to run $7 tomorrow is very unlikely. I guess you could also look at this and try to take a lotto upwards, but there's not really a floor here. Yeah, now that I look at this, Zillow's probably not super strong. If we do somehow hit that 80 or 82 value this week or next week, it could be good to short. Stonky, don't worry, I wrote everything down. I won't miss any of them. Okay, so that was my watch list. Any questions on anything I've gone over now? I've gone over so far. If not, I'm gonna start going through everything that people have asked for. Okay, perfect. All right, let's start. So I wrote them down in order, except for UPST. I'll just do this one first because I didn't write it down. Okay, so Upstart. We do have a very strong floor here at 47. Yeah, that lines up pretty well here. We have this level where we bounced off of, rejected. So yeah, this 45 to 47 level is pretty good. We have a strong node there. Same thing as I said on a lot of other setups here, right? We have strong upside target on VEX. So I think the setup overall looks good. The reason I don't love it is because we don't have volume next week, right? So we don't have that ramp up. Now, that doesn't mean it can't happen, right? Of course, this trade can still work out well. But we don't have, there's a lack of information next week. So sometimes I hesitate a bit more on those plays. Okay. Is Okonomi in here? Maybe not. Okay, someone in my messages, she had asked me, or he? I actually don't remember. For Snapchat and I think Bloom Energy a few people had asked for. Don't they roll over Friday? Kiro, what do you mean roll over? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You're saying the positions on any of these nodes? So yeah, I mean, they roll over, but we don't always know if they're rolling over and moving to the same nodes, if they shift to other ones. So it's not always clear. So a lot of times what I do is like I'll assess the situation for the week of, but then I typically wait till Monday to chart, like Monday during the day or after close, because a lot of times they'll reposition going into next week, but a lot of times that'll shift quite a bit on Monday. Kiro, hopefully that answers your question. Okay, wait, Upstart we already looked at. Whoops. Okay, we're looking at Snapchat. Wait, is this Snapchat? I guess, probably right. Okay, so Snap, we're holding the 7.5 level. Yeah, I don't know if I like Snapchat too much. You know, we have a downside node next week, 2 weeks out, we're flat. Obviously, we have this Gex or this Vex King node. Yeah, but the fact that we have like a bit of down move next week and then a possible up movement the week after, I don't like this one too much. Okay, Bloom Energy, I know a few people. Yeah, Giul, I'll keep going through these and then once you chart and watch list, if there's anything you want to present after, we can do that. But yeah, you still have plenty of time, so no worries. Okay, Bloom Energy. So what's going on here? It's probably just nodes everywhere. Yeah, so I think Loon had brought this up on the previous stream on Tuesday. At the time, it had been in the middle of the range. Basically, what happened is it just pumped, went straight towards the high side of the range. Yeah, again, like I prefer not to take trades in the middle of ranges. Of course, sometimes they work out, but that's just my preference. I guess looking to the next couple of weeks on Bloom, obviously we have upside on VEX for OPEX. We don't have much volume next week or this week, so it's hard to establish a floor. So if you're taking longs with no floor and without nodes next week to help your thesis, just lotto size them. Like I know obviously if Bloom reaches that king node or anywhere near it, it should be very nice gains, but take us, at least for now, take a small position. If next week we are able to form a floor and the setup looks better overall, then that's a different matter. But at least right now, there's a lot of things I see that are just unclear, right? There's no floors, no nodes next week. So it's a bit of a high risk trade, but obviously can have good reward as well. So, but just make sure you're sizing appropriately to account for that. Okay. Did I look at OKLO already? Yeah, I already talked about this. Okay, GLD. Stunky. Your turn. Okay, so GLD actually looks pretty good. What does GC futures look like? Give me a second here. Because this is missing a ton of overnight action. Okay. So gold, we have the strong level at 386. Okay, yeah, so there's nothing weird that we're missing with this. Okay, we have the strong level at 386, which is looking like it'd be on with the daily. That's why I was confused. Yeah, this wasn't making sense. So what you can do here is maybe wait for this double tap of these overnight lows. But it does look like we have a very strong floor and we have a very strong upside on VEX. I will say, if be on the watch out for that 382 level. So if you open up maps tomorrow and you're seeing a lot of volume shift to 382, I'd say your thesis might be gone there, because then we'd be more in the middle of a range. Because that 382 already has pretty good volume. But if we do hold this 386, the volume stays where it is, I can see that upside working out. Yeah, so it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad, but yeah, I would keep an eye on that 382 level on gold. Okay, BBAI. UNH, yeah, I'll add UNH to the list. Holy, this list is pretty long. Okay. Okay, yeah, we have about 5, 10, 15. It's about 25 tickers to go through. Carvana's on the list, don't worry. Kumar. Okay, BBI. All right, so I don't know who asked for BAI. I wouldn't recommend playing it. You know, for these tickers, it's a $6 stock. It just ran $1. To me, it's probably just a chase if you're playing calls. So what I do here is just wait for it to consolidate, look at it in the future, or wait for some kind of pullback. But yeah, I would, the Vanna for OPEX is pretty split. We're at that king node of 7, so BBAI to me doesn't have much to do. Crowd, I'll add it to the list. No worries. Okay, so that's BBAI. Now we can do Oracle. Okay, wait. Loon. Yeah, we can go back to Bloom real quick. Okay, so you're saying good off 100 because we had. Oh, okay, so we had. Yeah, because you're always looking for like these bands, right? Where we have several weeks in a row with good volume. So I assume that's what you were looking for on BE. So that's what you noticed on the 100 level, I would assume. And now you're looking at, will this 120 level flip and make a positive band at 120? Do I have that right? Okay, I see. Yeah, so definitely, yeah. So yeah, Loom brings up a good point, right? For Bloom, where if you just look at next week's GEX, and the VEX overall, I was saying there's not much of a thesis of where we're going to bounce off of, right? Obviously, it has those OPEX VEX targets, but Loon brings up a good point of if we have consistent volume, and by consistent she means when we have this 120 for this week have strong volume, the 120 on OPEX, and then if we have this 120 for next week also grow in volume, these are these sort of like consistent levels that are strong across several weeks. That's what she's tracking. So like when I say band, I'm saying like this consecutive weeks with strong volume, and we can use those tend to be stronger levels, right? So then the thinking is if we can claim that, use that as a floor, then we can use that as a thesis. For a floor, obviously we already have the target due to VEX. So hopefully I'm explaining that properly, Loon, because I know, yeah, you trade a bit of a different style to a few of us. Okay, awesome, perfect. So yeah, thanks for sending your chart and making that point. Okay, Oracle. Oracle has earnings coming up. Next week has like no nodes. They're pretty weak. And OPEX is split. So I don't know who asked for this. If you're looking at Oracle for earnings type of play, it's not clear at all to me. If you're looking at it for tomorrow, if you're trying to see if it's going to drop down to that 210 node, might be the thesis there. The caution I'll give there is that 210, we just got delivered from that 210 level. So there's a high chance tomorrow, if it stays strong or if it just sort of chops where it currently is, all that volume from 210 is going to roll higher. So it might be shifting all towards 220-ish. So yeah, if you're seeing that those nodes just are shrinking rapidly, I would not take this trade on Oracle for tomorrow because we just got delivered from 210. Okay. Yeah, GS is on the list. Is it? Yeah, it is. So no worries, Christian. Okay, so Tesla. Okay, so Tesla's been running. Yeah, I mean, Tesla looks pretty, well, Tesla, we're in the middle of the range, right? So we have a range from like 440 to 470. We're obviously like right in the middle of that. So I generally wouldn't take this play, but what you can look for is if you're still biased long, let's claim that 455 as a floor and push towards 470, right? Probably take strikes that are closer in the money. The reason I say that is, we've gotten to 470, but we've also had some resistance around 465. So maybe look at a closer strike or even 460 just to be safe. But yeah, Tesla, it has good argument for upside, especially if we see that 440 and 445 start to shrink, right? The opposite that could happen is 455 could hold as a ceiling and we could drop back to 440, right? So you'll want to track where that volume is shifting. But that's the reason these middle of the range plays are so much more risky, right? Because we're at a node that can either be claimed as a floor or a ceiling. It's hard for us to establish which way. Because these nodes are going to be fluctuating, like 470 and 440 and 445 are going to be changing volume all the time. So unless we just see one of them disappear, there's always going to be a chance that it could be the other one, right? So then that's the risk with these middle of the range plays, is it's hard to establish, are we truly going long or down or short, right? If you're talking about Tesla on a longer time frame, yeah, calls look pretty safe because we have 480 with good volume, 500 with a good volume for OPEX and the week after. We have a bit of volume down here at 400, but I would still say we're a bit biased long. But yeah, overall, yeah, I probably wouldn't play this just from the fact that we're middle of the range. Tesla can be pretty volatile. There's a lot of news coming out around it. Well, not there's a lot of news right now, but like, I don't know. It's also pretty subject to like Twitter announcements and random stuff like that. So that's why I personally don't trade it anymore. Okay. Microsoft. So I don't know who brought this up. If we're looking at this from a long-term perspective, Microsoft has almost nothing to do. OPEX has nodes all over the place. Next week is also split upside downside. If you're talking about this week, I could see. If we tap 475 and bounce, that's all one play. The other play would be if we push up, tap 485 and play that reversal back down. So I don't love this play. Just because like the nodes look pretty cluttered on the GEX, right? Like in the span from 475 to 490, there's just a ton of nodes. All of them have like decent volume. It's not so clear. So yeah, I don't know if I like Microsoft too much here. Yeah, I don't know. Next week, if we come hit 470 and double bottom, maybe that's a play, but I don't see much to do on Microsoft there. Okay, so that's Tesla, Microsoft, NVIDIA. Okay, so let's see here, NVIDIA. So NVIDIA had very strong staircase. I think even last week it was visible. Obviously we had a strong day today. Based on GEX, not much of a read there. I guess what you can do here is say, oh wait, I didn't change. Sorry. I'm not even looking at NVIDIA. My bad. Okay, so I think NVIDIA bounced off 180. I think that node was not very strong, so that would have been a hard one to catch. Now that we're at 182.5, what you'd be looking for here is, can we retest 182.5 and push higher, right? Can we push towards 185? If you're looking at this week's calls, if you're looking for swing trade, like longer term, you'd be looking next week. Obviously, we have volume at 185, 190, and into OPEX, we're at 205. So if you want to swing this 1 or 2 weeks, I see that as fairly good risk reward. But in the end, I would say the best play here was still off 180. I don't think the node showed it, so it would have been like you couldn't really have caught that with heat maps. But yeah, what you definitely need here is, can we break above that level on the chart that has stalled NVIDIA for the past like 2 weeks, right? So can we break that 183, 184-ish level? Fossil Man, yeah, it's on YouTube. On my YouTube. I think if you just click on my like Discord profile, it should be linked in there. If not, I'll send you the link later. Just message me and remind me. Okay, AFRM. Yeah, AFRM. Let me see here. I don't know what it did today. Yeah, so AFRM, I know a lot of people have been tracking AFRM all week due to this 80 node. So firstly, that 80 node is about at 20 to I think 25% of the strength they had on Monday. And then on the VEX, I think on the GEX, probably roughly the same. It's probably at around 25-30% of what it was on Monday. So we've seen a ton of the positioning at that 80 level exit, right? So, that's a concerning sign. Two, can we make an $11 move in one day? Maybe. The chances of that, pretty low. So I probably wouldn't be looking at AFRM at all at this point. So the earlier in the week, the argument was the bounce off 70. If you play the bounce off 70 either Monday or Tuesday, both those plays probably, I think they went 50% or more. Monday probably was 50%. Tuesday, I think you could have gotten more. I think what happened a lot on this trade is like people got a bit greedy, held contracts. They're seeing the 80 node and they kind of overrode a lot of their rules about like taking profits as you take these trades. So the I think this is a very good example of like make sure you're entering on the floors, right? So I know it's a 10-point range from 70 to 80. So people were thinking, all right, 70.5, 71 is still a good entry. But what you need to realize is in the end, it's still a chase in a way, right? We're trying to take reversals off these floor levels, off the ceilings, at very close to those levels. And then that's how we get that initial reversal to go in our favor and to give us profits very quickly, right? So, just be disciplined there because I think AFRM did burn quite a few people this week. Obviously, we have 80 still lit up, but what I mentioned earlier about that volume just dying off, we're at 25% of the volume that we saw at the beginning of week. So I'm not trusting that 80 node much at all. If you're playing 68 as a floor, I guess that's a good argument, or 67. The issue here is this has already kind of double bottomed. Actually, it's already tapped it 3 times. So at this point, I don't even know if I trust this level, right? So yeah, AFRM, I don't know. I'm probably not looking at it much at all. Also paired with the fact, like, I think I played that bounce Monday. A lot of people have gotten burned on it. So then I don't know. When I see setup like that, that's just thrown people off. That 80 node was very strong, but it's not actually playing out. When I see those kind of things, I generally just skip that ticker for the rest of the week. Yeah. Now, if you're looking further dated, yeah, I guess there's also very strong volume for 80 next week and the week after. So this is a longer dated kind of play. I would be more in favor of it. I still don't know if it's like a great play. Let me think. Yeah, I probably wouldn't say it's like an amazing play, but yeah. So that's AFRM. I'm pretty wary of it. No, I can add Rigetti. Although Rigetti's pumped a lot, so I wouldn't. Usually when that happens, I don't recommend those either. Okay, so that was AFRM. We can do AMD and Meta now. I mean, yeah, I can keep going, but I guess the whole strategy, the whole benefit of heat seekers is helping you to catch reversals, right? So a lot of times when I see these moves that are pretty extended, I just skip them. So I mean, yeah, you can play it. I think the target's a bit higher. It's up towards like 33 now, but if I'm not catching the initial reversal, I just prefer to skip the play myself. But yeah, I'll look at it later and I can give my opinion on it because there's a chance we might pull back, hit a floor, and then continue upwards. Okay, so AMD. AMD has a pretty good range, like 210 to 222, 225-ish. Let me see here. It looks like we did hit 225. Okay, so that Tuesday rejection, I think that's what Giul played, right? I think he played AMD puts on Tuesday. So that was a very good play, right? We're at top of the range. I don't know what it looked like on Tuesday. I don't know if it looked like this or not, but play top of the range, play the rejection downward. We've sort of stalled out in the middle. So for right now, I wouldn't take a play on AMD. I'd be waiting for it to hit either side and then play reversal there. So yeah, right now AMD, I would say just wait, see if we hit 210, play that bounce, see if we hit 220, 222-ish, and play that bounce. But other than that, I wouldn't. Yeah, AMD is not looking too interesting there, unless we hit either side of that range. Okay, Meta. Did Meta spike on news, or what's going on with this candle? Yeah, Meta, I don't see much to do here. So yeah, we spiked, retraced. We have high volume above. We're not really bouncing off anything, and there's quite a few levels, so it might get pretty sloggy, right? Where it might have some trouble working through some of those levels. So yeah, Meta. Yeah, I'm not too interested in Meta. Longer term, yeah, OPEX is biased upward. A ton of tickers, honestly, are biased upward on OPEX. We're not seeing anything the week before. So, yeah, I don't know. Meta, I don't like too much. Yep, so that's probably that. They cut 30% of their metaverse budget. What is... I don't even know what that is. Is that something they were supposed to release this year? Next year? Oh, VR. Okay, interesting. All right, so yeah, if they have bad news coming out too, then... Wait, they cut 30% of the budget and they pumped? 6-7 bill? What? Um, yeah, I'll let y'all explain that in the comments. I don't know what that stuff means. All right, CRM. Oh, okay, so they thought, oh, they thought Metaverse wasn't going to be like very successful. Okay, interesting. Okay, I see. Well, so yeah, Meta popped on news. I don't know. I usually, when I'm seeing some of those weird candles after earnings, after news, after whatever it may be, a lot of times I'm pretty not suspicious, but I just don't look at those tickers too hard. Okay, so yeah, CRM is pretty decent, right? We have an inverse rug pull at 250. So we need to claim that level, right? This previous resistance. We'll see if we can claim that, use it as support. Same as a ton of tickers I went over earlier, actually, where the setup looks good, right? Where we have a floor right now, we have upside in the future. The issue here is we don't have any nodes next week to go off of, right? So, of course, you can still take, like, there's still upside bias, I would say, absolutely, based on that OPEX week. It's just sometimes it's hard to get the timing right because if you're playing the bounce this week and say next week, Monday opens and 250s are floor again, then you end up waiting for another tap of 250. So it's hard to know where the nodes for next week are going to form and what they're going to look like. So yeah, like overall the setup looks good. Definitely biased upwards. We're on a floor right now. I wouldn't call it a setup unless we had some volume on that 12-12 week. But yeah, overall CRM looks quite good. If we get a push, retest, and then bounce off that 250. Okay. CRM, Uber. I don't know who asked about this. Uh, Yeah, so Uber has a node up at 92. So I guess we have a bit of upside for tomorrow. But probably I don't know who asked about this, but probably what they were looking at was OPEX weeks where we do have further upside. Um, so yeah, I mean, kind of same response as the previous one where we don't have much data for next week. We're definitely biased upwards, I would say, but without much of a strong floor and without much information about next week, I would probably still hesitate to call this an A setup and take a trade on it. So yeah, there's Uber. So we did AMD, Meta, Citigroup. I think I already covered, right? Whoops, not Visa. I already covered Citigroup. Yeah, Citigroup had good floor. Same issue, right? Like, we're biased upwards into OPEX. We don't have many. We don't have any nodes for next week, so that's why I have a bit of a doubt. But not a bit of a doubt, but just like that's why I'm not calling it an A setup. WDC. Is that a ticker? I thought you were talking about Formula One. Okay, Carvana. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Carvana, there's not much to play here. Like, looks like we're triple topping, so there's a risk we break above here. Uh, there's just not much nodes, right? There's not much volume anywhere. I guess on OPEX we're a bit biased upwards, but there's no floors, no ceilings. So Carvana, I don't. Oh, 500 node. Okay, so yeah, we're definitely biased upwards then, and not neutral, but still, right? No floor. Next week is very low in volume, so it's hard for me to say much here. I mean, chart wise, what I'd say is if we break above and retest 400, then you can try longs. Um, yeah, I don't know if I can say much more than that. Chipotle and Nike. Nike, I looked at, should be in the recording. Chipotle, I haven't, so I can write that down. Okay, so that was Carvana. Reddit is next. CK and K. Pradeep, I just did Carvana. Did you? So if you scroll back on YouTube, you should be able to just watch that. So yeah, if that Ron, thanks. So if that Carvana node has been there for a month, it was taken right after last OPEX. So again, sometimes these positions are taken well in advance, and that's why they end up very, very distant nodes. So Carvana, yeah, I'd be pretty surprised if we're running that high on Carvana in 2 weeks, but there's always a chance. Yeah, I'm writing down all those tickers y'all are posting on YouTube. No worries. How often do I do these live sessions? Yeah, so CK, I do these. My target will be Tuesdays and Thursdays going forward. Let me check a calendar because I'm actually going to miss a few weeks. So next week I can do Tuesday. I won't be able to do Thursday or the Tuesday after. So I'll be doing for December. It should be the 9th, the 18th, the that's Christmas week. So maybe I'll do the 22nd, maybe, because the majority of the volume that week will be Monday and Tuesday. And then New Year's week, yeah, so I'll have a bit of a weird schedule. So I'll probably do 9th, 18th, 22nd, and 29th, because I'll be trying to make sure I can, or maybe even the Sundays. Um, I'll have to think about that, but I should be doing at least like one a week for December just because of holidays and markets close a lot of time and I'll be with family. But in January, I should pick up and start doing twice a week. So it'll either be Tuesday, Thursdays or Sunday, Tuesday. I have to think about that. Depends on a couple things. Yeah, true. I mean, Carvana's had pretty wild moves. Yeah, I think someone had played it for some pretty ridiculous games. But like y'all also have to, take into account the situation of what Carvana has already done, right? Like it just ran $70 in a week and a half, right? And now you want it to run $80 more in 2 weeks, right? So it's possible. Like, of course, anything could happen, but the odds of that kind of run just continuing is pretty low, in my opinion. But again, feel free to take these plays. Just I would size appropriately, right? If you're expecting a ticker that just ran 70 points to do another 80 points, just be realistic on some of that stuff. Okay, Reddit. Okay, so Reddit has a pretty decent floor here. It's pretty low volume, but I'd say it's a decent floor. We have that 230 node overhead. I guess. Oh, we already rejected 230. Okay, so what you'd have to check here is if that Reddit 230 node volume has grown or shrunk since we rejected earlier in the week. So if we've maintained that volume, there's a chance we pop tomorrow and we make up, we push higher. If that volume has just shrunk off and is now pretty low, then we may just stall out around where we are. So we would see that 220 and 222 nodes grow, that 230 would fade, and then we really wouldn't go any higher. We would just stay where we are. Okay, so that was Reddit. So Carvana, Reddit, Goldman Sachs. Bruh. Okay, there we go. Okay, so Goldman Sachs is looking like we have a double top here. Let me see what the maps look like. Oh, so the map is saying higher actually. Interesting. So Goldman Sachs hit a high of 340, 844. Yeah, I would have been waiting for 850 to short it towards 830. It looks like, yeah, we might drop to 830 tomorrow because it looks like we rejected that double top level at 841. So yeah, probably this one. I've never played this ticker. If an $8 move is enough to make pretty good money, then you can consider shorting it tomorrow down to 830. That's a pretty good thesis there. If we open near 830, you could do the opposite. If there's enough time in the day and we're already at 830, you can try to play the bounce and do that support resistance flip. But yeah, so there's a couple of different ways you can play that. It just depends where we open and how quickly we make those moves. Yeah, Rond, I mean, still track it, right? If you have a larger portfolio, feel free, take the lotto, but just try to always think of the context of these tickers. And even though we may have some very extreme nodes, try to still, put some logic in it. Yeah. Okay, so HTZ has been seeding for 43 days. Okay, so one caveat here, not caveat, but one comment here is it hasn't had much data. About a month and a half, so it has some, but typically we're waiting. We want to see at least 3 months before we fully trust it. Obviously on HTZ, we have a huge node upside on OPEX. When would this have been taken? I think last OPEX was 1119. Yeah, so this one might be worth lotto or just shares maybe as a way to play it a bit safer. But yeah, I mean, this chart's just been consolidating in this 480 to 5-ish range for a couple weeks. There's really no other nodes to play off of. So yeah, I mean, this one, I don't, I would also treat it as a lotto. Okay, Marvel. Marvel. Okay, so Marvel just gapped up on earnings. We have a strong level 95. So I guess somewhere here. So previous resistance, kind of. I mean, we broke above pretty strong. And then it was a support here after earnings. So that makes sense. Like we held this as support. Will we revisit 95? I wouldn't use 95 as a target. If we do tap 95 again, though, that double bottom I think could have good potential. So maybe mark off that, just set an alert there. If we bounce off it, just take a 0 DT, like a lotto for 0 DTE, or maybe 1 week. I would be cautious about playing that OPEX node. I know it's king node, but if you add these two nodes downside, this is the same volume basically. We have 42.9 upside, and we have roughly 43.7 downside. So it's an even split, even though the upside looks like king node, right? So make sure you're looking at all the nodes. You're taking note of that. That'll give you a much clearer picture. So Marvel, there's not much to go off of, just that 95 double bottom. Maybe you can scalp that. Okay, a few people asked about indexes. I'll do that at the end. CK. Oh, you're from Breadman's Discord. Oh, I see. Yeah, so I think the only way for you to catch these is if Giul sends my link over there, which I can tell him to do that each time. The other way, I guess, would be if I don't know how YouTube works, but there's probably some way that you can set notifications when people go live. Maybe? I don't I don't use YouTube too much, so I actually don't know if that's possible, but hopefully. Sorry, I'm checking. Someone pinged me. I'm trying to find this message. WZ shout out. Yeah, but I can't. I'm not in that Discord. So so it's not there's no way for me to do that. Yeah, thanks CK. Yeah, that helps. And yeah, feel free to share it there. I don't know if Breadman allows. I mean, double check with him if that's okay, but if this would help anyone else in that server, let them know. And yeah, there's a reason I don't just do them on Discord. It's also just supposed to be for people to learn a bit more about the tool, in case they're coming from Owl's Bakery or if they're just coming from somewhere random. Okay, LRCX. Yeah, LRCX. I don't like it too much. Like our weekly range for this week is 152 to 160. So it looks like we did tap 150. No, we tapped like 153. Yeah, so we didn't quite tap 152, but we did tap 160 and reject. So that was actually a pretty nice play. End of day yesterday. But right now, since we're hovering sort of at a midpoint, I wouldn't take a play on this. It looks like we're biased upwards next week and even OPEX, but yeah, I don't. There's not a strong floor, I would say, right now to take a play off of. So, yeah, LRCX I probably ignore. Okay, Lulu. Okay, almost done with the list, y'all. Don't worry. Just like 10 left. Never mind. We just had a hymns. Home Depot. No, I haven't, but it's on the list. Rond, I think I already went over Marvel. I don't remember what I said. I think I said it was pretty unclear. Yeah, for cup and handles, I don't trade any of those patterns. So that's something, you have more experience on those than I do. So, trust your own analysis there. But yeah, I don't remember what I said on Marvel, but I can check that later again if you need. Okay, Lululemon. Okay,
so Lululemon has a lot of bias downwards for OPEX. This 182 is still support, so maybe what I do here is see if can we break under 182, retest, and then take that as a short. Yeah, this has same issue as a lot of setups this week, just due to OPEX. Is OPEX nodes are very strong, next week's nodes are very weak, so I'm not seeing like that progression, that staircase that I typically like to see on most setups. So they're still playable. I would just make sure you size appropriately because to me they're looking a bit more unclear due to the fact that we're not seeing volume next week. Okay, MSTR. So yeah, I mean MSTR typically moves like pretty random. There's a lot of people that just hate it. Yeah, I don't know last time I traded it. We do have a clear range though from 185 to 200. Yeah, so I wouldn't be mad. Actually, to me, this trade actually looks pretty good. If we bounce off 185, the only issue I see here is that 185 level isn't very strong on the VEX. It has a little bit of volume, but nothing crazy. But we have a very strong purple floor, negative floor on GEX. So if we tap that 185, I'd probably take longs targeting 192. The reason you're not going to want to target that king node at 200 is because 192 can always reject, right? It's going to act as a gatekeeper if we push up towards it, and there's a chance we reject or we just stall out there the rest of the day. So, yeah, I mean, fuck, where's my sheet of paper? MSTR actually looks pretty good. Yeah, so just be patient, wait for that floor, and then take that bounce. I don't see much wrong there. Okay, MP. Did I cover this? I don't think I did. Give me 2 minutes, y'all. I gotta go get more water. Okay, can y'all hear me? I think my audio's on. No one's replying, but I'm pretty sure it's on. Okay. MP. So we have the 62 level. I mean, yeah, you can use this potentially as a ceiling. No. Yeah, MP. I don't know how much of a thesis here, right? Like, we do have a bit of a support resistance here. We've already tested it quite a few times. There's a chance we break above. There's also a chance we just keep stalling or keep chopping.
OPEX week is 50-50, right? There's nodes above, nodes below. Next week is telling us nothing, so MP, not much to do there. There's not much that I'm seeing on that. Okay, MP, Home Depot. Okay, so Home Depot, we dropped quite a bit. Damn, we dropped a lot. Holy. It's a nice bounce though. Damn, I wish I would have seen that. Yeah, I had pretty good bounce on the macro. So right now, oof. Jesus, some massive. That node is massive at 345. Yeah, I don't know with this, right? Like we have obviously a huge Vex node at 345. We sort of just have this volume stack. These are really hard to play because sometimes we immediately hit them and bounce. Sometimes we won't bounce until the middle. Sometimes they just kind of flush through, right? Like say it's going to end up at this Vex King node. It just sort of grind through all three. So Home Depot to me, it's a bit hard to tell which of those cases it'll be. And looking to the future, we do have a large node up here on OPEX at 400 psych level, so that makes sense. That was likely also taken before Home Depot started just tanking. Yeah, so Home Depot, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much of an opinion here. Long off 350. I can see that, right? Like we're playing this support on gags and you're trying to play that bounce. I guess what's working against you is there's nothing pulling it at all next week, right? So I would just double check if this 345 node has grown or shrunk throughout the week. And now that you're in that position, check if that's continuing to grow or shrink or not. And somehow some of this GEX volume continues there, or if it moves elsewhere. But yeah, this one's pretty tricky, I'd say. Unity, no, I'll add that to the list. Yeah, this Home Depot map, yeah, I don't know. It's just we're sort of just at that peak node, so like the only reason I hesitate a bit more with it is because it's stacked, right? Like the fact that we hit a peak node on GEX and you're playing the reversal there, I think is good. Like that's good thesis. But the fact that there's just all that volume sitting there, there's just none anywhere else. The Vex is showing a little bit lower. It's just it's showing a bit uncertain there for me. Okay, so what is this? Robotics? I don't know what this is. But looks like we had trendline break, retest, play looks pretty good. I guess what it's working on now is can it clear this level here? Shit, this level here. Oh, actually it's a bit higher. Okay, previous rejection, resistance, support. Once again, we bounced off it full pump, support, and now we dropped. So that 475-ish level is pretty important. Off these heat maps, yeah, so $8 by OPEX, that'd be crazy. It's also very extended, right? Like we've pumped $1 in the past 2 days or 3 days. So yeah, just be aware any entries now are a bit more of a chase. What you can look for is maybe a break and retest of this 475 level. Let me think. Yeah, I guess even down to like 450, you can argue is the break and retest. So it's like this zone from 450 to 475. Yeah, obviously we have $5 node next week, $8 node the week after. I don't know what that $8. This could also be news driven. I think there's been some news surrounding robotics lately, but I'm not too well aware. I don't keep up much on the news. But yeah, I mean, cyber. Did I write this down right? Uh, yeah, I don't know what I was writing down there. Cyber. I don't know what this is. Let me see though. Okay, so we have a support resistance flip kind of here. No, I lied. That's not really a great one. Yeah, I don't know about this level. I wouldn't. It looks like 495. I don't know who asked for this, but it's not on a heat map, so I think 495 is sort of your level to watch here. Look for a reaction there, but I guess yeah, you can track this. You can track this 480 if you're concerned here. We double bottom there in the past. Yeah, but again, this reversal already happened, so I don't know if there's much to say here. I guess you could try to play the rejection at either of these two levels. But yeah, again, I don't know if I just wrote that down wrong. But yeah, I don't think we have that ticker. Okay. Galaxy, we do have. Whoops, can't spell. Oh man, Giul's on.
Yo,
What's up, bro?
I'm back at my laptop so I can share screen and look at shit too.
Okay, sweet. I have like 8
Or I
tickers
can try to
left.
find some. I can try to find some setups of my own, and then I can present it here,
I think
like
that's
what I'm
probably
seeing.
better. You still have a bit of
Yeah.
time, so you can flick through your stuff, see if you like anything, and then you can present that once I'm done with these last ones. Okay, sweet. Um, okay, yeah. So Galaxy, Galaxy, we're kind of in the middle of the range, right? Our range is 26 to 30. That's where we have most of our major volume. We obviously have huge OPEX nodes. So what you could look for here, if you want to play the riskier entry, which is going to be that middle node, you can try to get this 27.5 previous resistance to break above and hold the support. The reason I say it's a bit riskier is because it's not the extreme ends of the range; it's a bit in the middle. But yeah, if we're able to hold that level, a push towards 30, I can see that happening. Obviously, we have a bit of volume there, a bit more on VEX. If you want to do more longer dated, you can try playing this OPEX, like just play calls. Don't target 40. Again, look at all the stuff in the way 30, 32, 35. So, target something around there, 30, 31, and that'll be a bit safer. But yeah, overall, yeah, Galaxy actually looks decent. I don't mind that one. Again, we don't have much volume for next week. If you don't want to get in this week, if you feel this is too risky, you can always wait and see if we tap this 25.5 floor next week and maybe play off of that. But yeah, overall, Galaxy I think looks pretty good. Uh, Unity. Yeah, so Unity has a pretty good ceiling at 45. The issue here is we might have already rejected it. We tapped it 2 to 3 times. If we're looking at the 45 level here. And it seems we're pushing down now. Let me zoom out. Yeah, what you can be wary of. So yeah, basically this 43.5 level, right, was resistance 4 times. If this flips, it was a support once. If it flips again to support and pushes upwards, obviously the put argument is a bit dead. But so yeah, what I'd say here is if based off this 45 tap today, the argument here would be, all right, let's take a bit longer dated and see if we can get these OPEX nodes all the way down here at 38 and 35, right? I think that entry might have passed already. I guess if you're looking to still take it, probably just wait for next week and see if we can form a ceiling, or you can look for a break and retest of this level on the chart that I drew, and maybe either of those can be semi-decent thesis. But yeah, overall, I think this play might have already happened. It's the main issue. HIMS, so I know HIMS ran pretty crazy today. So I think the thesis here is people are looking for this 40 previous resistance, break above, flip to support, and then catch a push off that towards 46 and 50 on OPEX week VEX. I'm fine with that thesis. I think it's pretty strong as long as we, break above 40, hold it, get a retest there, enter there, and play 2 weeks out. Again, there's a bit of, I won't call it an A setup because we don't have those nodes next week to sort of guide us higher. But I definitely think it has potential. Yeah, so it's the same. I've said that about a ton of setups tonight, but that's just what tends to happen as we approach OPEX weeks is there's usually those nodes start to overshadow a lot of the stuff in the week before, week after. Yeah, Hood, I'll add it to the list. So let me see, Unity, HIMS, RR, Cyber, Galaxy. Okay, so I got Intel we're looking at now. Okay, 7 left. All right, Intel. Intel, I don't know. So it looks like we broke up. I don't know what this looked like earlier in the week. Looks like we broke above 41. We're kind of retesting it, but we're kind of a bit under. We do have that 45 node on OPEX. Yeah, I don't know on Intel. So like OPEX, we're biased a little bit upwards. Actually, we might be kind of flat. Like if you start summing the nodes above and below, just absolute value, just look at total magnitude. You're at a pretty similar spot, right? Like on the upside, we have 20, 36. So we have like 72, 73, 74-ish. On the bottom side, we have 48, 61. Okay, so it's a bit less, but we do have a few scattered. Yeah, so we kind of have the same amount of volume upside and downside. They're just scattered across many different nodes. Not much information next week. So yeah, Intel, I don't know. I mean, based on the chart, I can see a 41 support resistance flip happen. And based on that king node for Gex, but the bias going into the next couple weeks is pretty hard to establish on Intel. So I wouldn't, yeah, I'm not seeing it as very clear, I guess is my point there. Okay, quantum stocks today. So obviously these ran very hard the past few days. I know this because I took a terrible entry on Rigetti last week. It was down like 90% and I sold them break even, right? So then that shows the move all quantum sector has been making. And you know, that's due to IWM has been running all these like smaller caps have been running pretty hard today and yesterday. So makes sense, right? So, but the thing is when we get those very large pushes, for example, on IonQ, there's almost nothing left to do here, right? Like we just push super hard. Obviously, there's like $1 or $2 left of upside, potential upside. Those nodes are all pretty packed together. There's not much of a range, so I wouldn't be too interested in it. There's upside for OPEX at 70. So yeah, maybe if you're looking at this as a floor for OPEX, I can see that as a lotto. But next week also doesn't have much info. So IonQ, I don't know, not much there to look at. We can, while we're talking about quantum, we can look at Rigetti. So yeah, Rigetti, as I said, we pushed from like $24 to $30 in 2 days. So this thing has been ripping. You could consider if 30 is holding as a floor, trying to target higher towards 35, 37. I would still lotto that, right? Like we've ripped, it ripped 25% of its like actual stock value, right, from 24 to 30. So for us to have another extension like that is always a bit risky, but of course, it's still possible. We've seen when quantum does have these moves, they can move for a long time. But yeah, like I guess the way I view this is, we kind of missed this pump already. So then at this point, we're chasing or we're getting a bit optimistic about how much further upside we're going to see on them. Okay, so that was IonQ, Rigetti. We have Chipotle. Chipotle. Okay, so we have a downside node. Huh. We have a strong downside node on OPEX. It's pretty isolated. So I wouldn't play this as anything more than a lotto. I suppose we have a kind of a ceiling here at 34, 34.5. Next week, what I might do, if I were to play this, I would wait for next week. If we keep this volume at 34, so that 8,000 node, if that stays strong, and then play that as our ceiling and play puts going into OPEX, I wouldn't mind that, but I might just wait till Monday, see how the map shows up. If we still have that 34 level, just wait for a tap and then short that. So I might, yeah, CMG, I might wait till next week just to see, just make sure it looks the same and have less risk of something weird happening over the weekend. Okay, WDC. Yeah, so this, yeah, same as a few setups we've looked at, right? Like we have a pretty good floor, 160, 157. If we can hold that, target these OPEX nodes up at 175. Yeah, 175 will probably be target there. We don't have much volume next week. We have like a tiny bit of volume at 170. So yeah, same thing as before. Like I'd probably call this B setup, but like it's definitely has upside pull. We're at a strong floor. So I definitely see the argument here. It's pretty valid on WDC. It's just, be cautious of where these nodes can show up and what can happen next week. Okay, CrowdStrike. Okay, CrowdStrike has a pretty good range, right? We're looking from 500 to 530. It looks like we already tapped 500. This was Monday. So yeah, it looks like we tapped 500 already Monday and Wednesday. So I'd be surprised if we get that entry again. What you can do here is, let me see. Yeah, I don't know. I might say that this play already happened. So since we already bounced twice off 500 this week, and we even bounced off it a couple times last week, I might say that level is pretty exhausted. So I'd be cautious about longing off of it again. I guess what you could do is if we do push, hit 530, try to short it. But yeah, I guess the setup was quite good, right? Like we have a very good range. I just think the opportunities for entry were either Monday or Wednesday. And by now it's a bit risky to take on an entry here. Okay, last one, not the last one, second last one, United Health Group. Okay, so we had a nice move Wednesday, pulled back yesterday or today. We're at a floor. I take that back. Yeah, I would say we're at a floor, right? So I mean, I know this is the rug pull setup. We're technically above that 333.2 node, so if we stay above it, if we push down to like 332, 331, then I start getting a bit more worried about a rug pull. But for now, we're at 333, so if we stay here, push a little higher, then I think we can hold it as a floor and maybe push towards 340-ish. Although I guess what happened is we just rejected off 340-ish yesterday or Wednesday, so then that's what this volume here at 340 and 342 was for. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can take this as a floor, targeting upside on OPEX. Even next week, we have a bit of volume at 340, 350. I'm fine with that. We just got delivered from 340, like price just came from that area. So I'm not, yeah, again, this is probably not like an optimal trade, but I can see the argument. Yeah, I can definitely see the thesis there. But yeah, you may want to grab a bit more time on these, right, and really play those OPEX nodes, or even, if you're targeting OPEX, you'd be looking at, I don't know, like a 50-ish target, maybe even 40, 340 if you're very conservative, or just buy extra time, play like 360s, something like that, 350s, and then just, give it time, because I know United Health Group should recover. Like long term, it should have good growth. So I know a lot of people in the group chat. I think Snag or Sang. I actually don't know which order those letters are. I think he has leaps on UNH from a long time ago. So okay, finally Hood. yeah, so I can look at Hood, and then I'll let, if Giul's ready, we can swap over to him. If he's not ready, there's a few other things I can still talk about in the meantime. Okay, so Hood, also another case of, we've been running all week. We've been running the past week as well. We are in a range from 130 to 140, with 133 as an intermediate node. So I think we bounced off 133 today. We're pushing towards 140. At this point, I'd say this trade, like the entry was already offered either at 130 or at 133. So I wouldn't chase this. If we reach 140, you could consider shorting it for a scalp. But when we have tickers on these kind of runs, like just with extreme strength, I always hesitate a bit to short them. But yeah, I'd say the thesis here is like the call side, the call play was missed. Just entry was earlier in the week. Well, earlier today actually. If we reach 140, hit that king node, there's a, we can look at taking shorts there. But outside of that, not sure about that. Wait, what? Chris, on UNH, there's SMT. What? You can use SMT on. SMT should be a principle only used on futures. On ES versus NQ, unless I'm missing something. Like the whole principle of SMT, I can quickly look at this, right? So if you're looking at ES NQ, actually there's one right now. So when we come up here and we have ES form a high, right? So we form this high, unless you have some different definition of SMT than what I know, but we have a high here on ES and we have this double top, but we didn't actually sweep that high, versus NQ where we had that high and then swept it, right? This is SMT, right? Where we have one index take the high and the other one doesn't. So then in this case, it would be bearish. Yeah, so I mean, that's the definition of SMT I know. So on UNH, I don't. I mean, you're right, we have a double top. But yeah, I guess if you're discussing SMT, that's mostly a futures principle that people use. So let me see if we had it during the day at any point today. Yeah, so if you look at early morning, right, these reversals at 10:30, 11, and this is not something that Glitch uses, right? So it's just something I'm sharing that I've picked up. I'm not saying you should use it or not. I don't really use it much anymore, but so essentially this is the SMT we have here, right? And this is a bullish SMT because it means NQ took these lows, right? It swept this previous wick, swept that liquidity, but ES didn't. So generally, that's referred to as bullish SMT, and then on the opposite side, it's bearish SMT. Hopefully that helps clarify that, Chris. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, Chris, if you have more questions about that, so I don't know where you picked that up. If it's from a future side, if you have more questions there, make sure to ask in the channel. Like, I know this. I'm not saying I'm a very good futures trader, so there's probably much better people that can explain this. So make use of that futures channel if that's something you learned and you just want to make sure you have proper understanding of. Okay. Anything else for anyone? I think. Giul, are you ready? If you're not, I can just go over some of the index moves from today. If not, or if you are, then I'll just let you go ahead. Is Giul on here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. Do you need a few more minutes, or do you think you're ready to go now?
I mean, I kind of have like a couple things started I can go through, I guess, but I think I have to have. Can you allow me to share my screen?
Oh, yeah. Give me a second. Can you
I'll kind of
now?
just walk them through like what I do. Yeah.
Did you share your screen? Oh, give me a second. I need to. Wait. Give me a second to set this up for YouTube because I gotta.
I mean, you can just end the YouTube if you want.
Damn. So they're not allowed to have this info.
Well, they're not in here
No,
anyways, right?
No, some of them are. I think one of them had like resolution issues on Discord, so then he preferred to watch on YouTube. Damn,
But
stages.
wasn't that Dat?
Sorry.
Wasn't that Dat Salad that said that?
Maybe he did. No, someone else did. Oh, I forgot the guy's name. It was like Mr. OO.
No.
Uh, wait 1 second. Jonathan, I just went over hymns. Wait, no, I didn't. Well, I went over hymns like 20
Like,
minutes
can we all
ago.
see my?
So I think in the YouTube you can reverse, like go back and find that. All right, what were you saying, Jewel?
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like good quality and everything.
Yes, sir.
So, as everyone knows, I have a favorite. So I'm pretty much gonna walk you through like what I do every night. I've already went through a couple tickers that I kind of found that I like, but I have a favorite list here of every stock that I like trading. Anything other than this list, like all these tickers down here, I don't really look at all. Um, People who've been following me for a while know this. They know that I don't mess around with stocks that I'm not familiar with or I've never traded before, or like they're either low volume or just tickers that I just don't like. Um, and there's no point in wasting your time in going through 350 tickers every night or every couple days where you can just have a list of tickers you like playing that move, not in a scammy way, and just go through those and definitely find a new trade every day. So I literally just start from like the top and go through maps that I think look clean and I chart from there. So I'll just go through the ones I found now. So when I do my watch list, I create a section for every day, drag it up. I have all the maps, all the tickers here from my favorite lists pretty much here. And I'll drag them up into that day and only shuffle through those tickers throughout the day and just see which one out of the ones that I had charted from the previous night are playing out the way that I thought. So as of right now, I have these on my list. And then what I do is I kind of just match up the TA and match up the map. So like for example, like CRCL, um, I noticed this for a while now. If you go to the daily, I look like shit, but actually right here, we're kind of getting a nice strong, kind of reversal. So obviously we didn't bottom tick at 68, right? But to someone like Glitch, this isn't really like a Glitch or Nico or John. They'll tell you this. They don't like this trading this because the move's already gone. I still find value in tickers that we didn't bottom tick snipe at over here, for example. So what I'm kind of seeing here is purple node stacked on a yellow node right here, 85 and 86. So I'm viewing this right here as kind of a very strong support. We saw this on Qs today, that we came down to Qs that had a purple node stacked on a yellow, and it acted as a very strong support, and I played calls off that. I think it was for like 30% or something like that quick, but I'm noticing that here. This node I'm not really worried about since we did come from it over here, and nodes that we have come from, they don't hold the same value. Like this could be an outdated node that acted as a floor earlier in the week. So I'm more worried about these nodes here, especially this like 91 node here that hasn't been touched yet. That's still a fresh node. I'll zoom in quick. So what I do is when I'm making my watch list is all right, I'll see 86 and 85. I'll combine these nodes on the chart as a support and I'll just mark it yellow. It's very easy for viewing when you go from the map to the chart. And you can see actually here all day today, we kind of held this area as a support here. And then what I also noticed too, this 88 node right here that's yellow is acting as a wall. And you can see it here, this white line. we've kind of just been holding below it all day. But what I want to see here is I want to see a break of this 88 and maybe see this 91 over here start to grow. And if we end up using this 88 as a support, we can scalp a nice, $3 move to the upside if nothing else above 91 starts to grow. So minimum right now, I'm looking at like maybe a push to 91 here. So I just want to see a break because we're not sure if, come open, we just end up getting a nice like $3 candle in the morning from 9:30 to like 9:40 in the morning. We don't know how this is going to play. Or we can actually just end up, we can actually end up just coming down here, retesting this 85, 86 floor with the purple yellow stacked, and then maybe end up pushing to that 91. That would be ideal. That would be a great play. Like I say before, when I do these charting sessions, like we don't know what's going to happen, so we kind of have to be prepared for every single case. So these are the two possibilities that I would be looking for on this, if this were to play out and look good tomorrow. Obviously, a lot of people don't like charting individual tickers because they like just playing what's in front of them, and playing indexes is really easy to just, open up the index on the SPX and just play what's in front of you. Just move. And if you end up not predicting it right, obviously you don't take the trade. But when you have 3, 4, 5, 6 tickers that you're trying to predict the move, and the move actually that you predicted is correct, you can follow through with that move and end up playing it. But there's no certainty of us knowing what's going to happen. But this is something that I'm going to try to eye tomorrow. Is a break of this 88 node, kind of using it as a floor and pushing up more. So I just have this on the watch list that I'm trying to look at. Next one I kind of had was Google. Let's see. And no, I literally just made this watch list in like 10 minutes. So if I'm like wrong, just bear with me here. But Google, I played this. I think I actually did play this yesterday for it's like 50 or something percent. I kind of had this downtrend line here, and I knew that 315 was a floor using the maps. So I bought off 315 and actually we pushed to 321. I think that was actually 100%. But we ended up rejecting 320. The thing with Google is it's very hard to play because there's two maps. So I kind of use both. So like right now on GOOG, we have 315 as a floor with like nothing really lit to the upside. So right away I'll mark 315 as a floor like I did here and mark that line yellow. The line's at 314 because what I do is I see if the node lines up to TA on the chart. Obviously 315 would be up here and it would still work out, but if you just look and just use your, your TA skills, you just brought that line down to about here. Because you notice over here, this level is acted as a support. This day here, which was Wednesday, that's where I bottom ticked Google off 314. And that play was just an amazing play. I think Brendan posted that in the bakery. I posted that, and Heat Seeker is my only play for this day, and it was just beautiful. But we ended up rejecting that 320 node, which if you go to the next map here, you see right here. So just to get your reference, whenever you're using Google or trying to play Google, just use both the maps. See what nodes look like are showing on both the maps and use that. This map here showed me 320 ceiling. This map here showed me 315 floor. Put those 2 and 2 together, you get a 5-point scalp to the upside for 100% gain. So that's kind of like, that was the recap, kind of like how I charted this one out, this move right here. But now for today, we're still kind of respecting this 314, 315 support. I think a push to like 320, 321 from here would be kind of hard to, scalp because you're just going to be YOLOing like in the middle right here, trying to get a push to up here minimum and take your trims here. That's not really ideal. But what I want to see is I want to see a break of this 320, which is about this white line here. I'll just mark it purple for viewing. And and I want to see this 320 act as a support and get pushed to 325 and maybe even 330. Like, we don't know how Google's going to respond tomorrow. This 325 and 330 might not even be in the picture. But once again, I'm prepared for everything. You have to be prepared for in case these nodes actually work out or don't. I think your best bet would be, maybe get a pullback and then buy that pullback. If we just open up and we open up like kind of like here, obviously you don't want to play this small move. It's not really, ideal. It's not really a good trade. So at that point, I would just wait and see if you get a break of 321, 320, come back down and retest it and send there. So that's kind of what I'm eyeing. So for Google, I'm eyeing a use of 321 and 320 as a support for upside, or I'm eyeing another pullback to 314, seeing if, 315 is still the only node lit here. That's the key volume, right? I always say, if you're trying to see if a node's a support, check the nodes below it. 315 is a clear support because that's 8 million volume. There's nothing even close below it. That's an easy floor. So that's just kind of like what I'm eyeing with Google there to see if we end up getting a bounce or another push with tech. CoreWeave is another one I'm eyeing. I had this whole move charted, but didn't end up playing it because I think I played RGTI today, but I kind of noticed that this was before today, I believe, where there's this kind of downtrend happening here, or uptrend, sorry, and there was a nice little resistance at 80. So my play for this was before today even started. 80 is a big psychological level, and it matches up with like resistance here. We started rejecting it here. So my play for today on CoreWeave was just waiting for that 80 break to see if we get a push upwards to 85. And if I go to the replay, that's exactly what we ended up actually getting. So now it's more of a continuation play. So if I look at CoreWeave, and note, this is not everyone's like bread and butter. No one likes like continuation plays or breakout plays. Like people like sniping bottom with a lot of money in it. That's not, it's kind of hard to find that now because we did have a lot of stocks like make runs today. So I'm kind of eyeing them to continue making runs. So CoreWeave here, this isn't yellow, but it kind of looks the same. It's a nice like positive gamma on top of a negative gamma. So I matched up this 86 and 85 kind of as your floor, which is marked as this purple line right here. So I think that if we hold that purple line at 85, 86 area, which is actually what we're holding right now, I think we can end up getting a push towards this block here, which will end up being a nice like 4-point move up. So that's just something else that I'm looking. What the entry would be, I would think as close to 85 as you can get. Or what I do is I mark the previous day's high because that's a newly formed resistance for the next day. And I'll kind of wait for a break of that and see how the map looks. But the most ideal entry I feel like would be buying off 85 if we hold that and trying to see if we get a push over the previous high day up more. So that's something I'm eyeing here. I don't know if it'll play out. Once again, it's very hard to predict stocks for the next day. If it was easily done, everyone would be millionaires. But that's just something I'm eyeing here. Another one I found was HIMS. So if you look at my previous watch list in swing ideas, a lot of the nodes I mentioned only had one node lit up like this. and I straight up said, like, I don't know what's going to happen, because you can either reject off this 40 or you can come above the 40 and use that 40 as support. So right now I just marked on HIMS 40 as this purple zone here. And if you actually zoom back, you can see that same zone was used as support here, support here, and then even backwards more, you can see it was used as support. But right now it's a support resistance flip. So we're actually retesting 40. So there's two possibilities here that could be very clean setups. We either reject this down, and that would be a nice put play if the market's bearish, or if the market's just pushing all day. This 40 level here can actually end up pushing us higher. And we saw that a lot today. If you go to the swing ideas once again, and you look at the maps I sent, where I think ASTS was a perfect example if I go to it, which I'll pull up now, because this is a clear example. All right, ASTS. This was the map here. You know, we were at this one king node here. It was yellow. So I thought going into this today that we were going to actually reject that and come back downwards. And this is what I kind of had drawn here for ASTS, right? I saw this, all right, you know, support. Same exact thing that I just showed you guys on this chart I'm looking for tomorrow. Here, I was like, all right, we're probably going to retest it and come back down. And if I go to ASTS today, that node was 64. If I go to that today, that level actually broke and was used as support very quickly and actually sent all day. So those levels are actually great things to keep eyes on, because we know, since it's at its major king node, that there's going to be either a great move off of it or a great move to the downside or a great move off of it to the upside. You know, I went into today thinking that ASTS was going to reject. I was wrong. It's okay to be wrong. But you could have easily switched bias here. Notice that we were using 63 now as a support and just banked all day. So that's kind of what I'm seeing with HIMS here. So I pulled back up that. You know, we're at this one node right here. Yes, it's not yellow, it's purple. But we don't know if we're going to reject off of it or if we're going to use it as support. So this is something that I'm eyeing. I just know there might be a really big move on HIMS tomorrow. I'm just not sure which way. So that's just something I'm eyeing, just because I like how we're at that major node. Exactly what we saw with ASTS yesterday. So that's something I noticed there. So next one was AVGO. Let's see what I noticed here. All right, so I marked 375 as this purple zone here, which you can see, you know, was used as resistance there, used as support there, used as support here. So I don't think we'll get a retest of that, just because how we were holding this 380 level here as support, which you can actually see is lit up right here, which is this. I'll draw this purple too, which is this line here. So right now I see no play. I mean, you could probably scalp off of 380 up to the high of today, which is like 384. But I'm going to be eyeing this 387.5 node, see if it gains volume. And I think if we get a retest of 380 and a breakout of 384, we can get a push to 387.5, which would be, you know, a $7 move on a 0 DTE day. That's easily 100% gain. I think even probably 380 to 384 is still like 85% gain. So there's two possibilities here that I'm eyeing. I'm gonna eye if we hold the support here and gonna push it back up to 384. And like probably take most of my trims there and then leave runners for that 387.5 node here if it grows. Or if you want to be safe, which isn't the best, I mean, it's not really the best entry buying up here, but you can try to see if you get a retest and then a push out to 387.5 and maybe even overshoot it a little bit. But that's just another map I spotted that, you know, I'm kind of eyeing and see what it does tomorrow, see if it cleans up, see if we end up opening at 380 and 387.5 still stays. So that's what I was looking at there. I'm gonna go over it. I'll take a look at it. All right, IRN still has 330, has 48 and 48.5 lit. And as you can tell, those are untouched nodes. So those are fresh nodes. I'm not worried about 43 because we came from down here, right here. So it's not a fresh node. So I marked my previous day high, which is today's higher day, and I marked this 48.5 here, which is right here. So if I color code it, I'll just mark this as yellow. So I think, you know, if we get a pullback here, we could potentially buy that dip for a push to the golden node. Or, you know, if we gap up tomorrow, I think if we break the previous high a day, we can maybe get a push towards that 48.5 area here. I didn't get a chance to replay this and see if it gained volume throughout the day or not. But what I'm eyeing here is that the fact that these are untouched nodes and they're the highest nodes on the chart with volume. So I like looking at, this is what Glitch says a lot too, is you want to find maps that haven't played out yet. That'll give you your highest probability of sniping a trade the previous day or sniping a setup and actually playing out. So I think IRN is something to look at and see what it does tomorrow. So I have that on watch. Let's see. I mean, but I have here too. And I have the 140 king node marked here. There's not a lot of upside nodes above it. So I'm actually not going to chase this to the upside, but I'm going to try to look for it for a short off of 140. If the map looks kind of the same today. You know, same thing as the previous example I showed you guys where, you know, there's a purple node right here as a support. I think it was on Google, 315. And there was no major nodes below it. And that gave me a lot of insight that 315 area was a huge support. Same thing here with this being a wall. If this is how the map looks tomorrow, we're at 140 and there's nothing upside growing like this, I'm shorting off 140 100%. The only thing I would look out for is see what the market's doing. If the market's just making new highs, new highs, new highs every day, like throughout the day, obviously the chance of 140 being your ceiling isn't going to be true. We'll probably end up breaking it and using it as a floor and then new nodes forming up here. So you have to, you know, look at SPY, QQQ, you know, if you're trying to be bearish on a bullish day. But this is something I'm trying to predict is that we'd reject off 140 since it's that highest node, as long as there's no nodes above it that grow in volume. So that's just another play I'm looking at. This might not play out till like, you know, who knows, 2 p.m., 1 p.m., 12 p.m. But it's still a setup that I'm having the price come to me. You know, I have my map here. I have my, you know, my idea here. There's nothing, I'm not going to chase this 137 up to 140 for a chance of us not even getting there and just going down and getting drawdown on my calls. I'm going to have the price, you know, I'm going to have an alert set here, have the price come to me, have the map come to me, and then see if it plays out the way I think. Because, you know, 0DT Friday, you don't need a huge move. If we go from 140, like 138, that's like 50%, I'm taking that. You know, you don't need anything crazy. Just let the price come to you, be patient, buy deflections off king nodes, buy deflections off purple nodes, and that's how you play the day. You know, you have to be patient, which I think a lot of people do struggle with. So that's hood. What do I have for MP? All right, so MP, I kind of had in this wedge here. It's kind of been doing the past couple days like nothing. I just sideways chop. But I go to MP map. Once again, we're at a major, we're at a major node here. So we're either going to use 62 as a support and end up flying, or we're going to use 62 as a ceiling and end up dying off of it. The only thing I'm really worried about is the 60 node right here. It's a psychological level. Psych levels are like your 60s, your 65s, your 70, your 100s. So 60 could easily be a floor. I'm not sure if this would work, but if I'm looking at my chart here, this is pretty much telling me that, see, off this trend line, we can, in my eyes, we can reject off this trend line and go back down. What's also making sense to me is that 62 here, which lines up on my trend line, is your ceiling, your purple ceiling. So that's giving me double confidence that, we might reject actually off this trend line and this node downwards. But the only thing that's scaring me is that if that 64 is true, you're only getting this move max. So this is just something I'm eyeing. I'm gonna see how it plays out. If this 64 ends up being, if this 62, sorry, ceiling ends up becoming a floor, that just means that we're breaking out of this trend. So there's two moves here. We can either break out of this using 62 as our floor, or we can reject this trend line back down using 62 as a ceiling. So there's two possible plays here. I'm looking at MP. I don't know which one's going to play out. But I'm kind of prepared for, either way. So that's what I saw there. And that's kind of all I've really gotten to so far, but that's kind of like my thought process on how, how I'm reading these maps. I think when maps look like MP, where we're at a major purple or yellow node, I think it's something to keep eye on because that means we can either send off that or we can actually reject majorly off that. We always say play deflections off major nodes. When a map looks like this, we're already at it. So there's two possibilities of a major move happening. So I always keep those kind of maps on watch here and kind of try to see what happens throughout the day. But that's kind of all I've done so far. I don't know if Nico wants to take back over, but that's kind of what I got done in like 15 minutes. I don't know if anyone has any questions. You watch Vanna when you make these plays. I kind of keep note of what they show because sometimes they'll show a clearer picture. I don't know if I can pull up an example. I'll go through all these quick again and see if I can find an example quick. Nothing there. Sometimes the Vanna or the Vex will give you a little bit better of a direction of where we might go. See, like Google, for example, like the Vex here for tomorrow has 322, 325 lit. Also has 330 and 332 lit. Kind of lines up with Jack's here, but it kind of gives you like a kind of better picture. So I do flash that and just kind of see what it looks like for this week only. I'm not worried about this column at all. I know Nico's probably touched on it. It's 2 weeks out. It has no sense of help for this week or for tomorrow. So I kind of ignore that. But I do look at Vex to kind of see a better picture to AVGO. yeah, it just kind of highlights. So this 375 here is lit, which is the same as here. And that 387.5 is kind of lit too, which is kind of the same as here. But sometimes they'll like highlight, you know, a node farther out that you won't see on the JEX tool. But that kind of gives you more confluence that if I was looking for upside, and on JEX it's showing nothing here, but on VEX, you know, something over here is lit, or up here. It's like, all right, if we're at a major node and we have no way of knowing which direction it's going to go, if you look at VEX and there's a node up here that's lit, it gives me more kind of confidence that we might send off that node upwards. I can't really find an example now, but after I end this, I'll look. But yeah. Let me see, Kevin's ASTS book system. What value should you change by? Oh. Kevin, are you talking about my ASTS play from yesterday I sent in for today? So let's see. I mean, this is going to be up to, you know, how, like, it's just how you want to risk it. You know, someone who's a little more, I mean, I probably would have entered here if we're using hindsight. You know, if you go to the 5 minute, and I always say to trade on the 5 or 10 or 15 minute just to get a better picture. You know, if we look at the 5, this is where price action really comes into play here. You can see this long, and I've mentioned this before, this long wick right here that shows you that buyers are stepping in. If there's a long wick on the top, which actually has happened here, there's a lot of like sellers too. So it's kind of difficult, but I would look at this here and be like, all right, we're kind of still holding this yellow zone. This is an ugly looking candle, but we're still holding it. This candle would have probably happened, and then I probably would have entered in this one. I don't know how the map changed throughout the day. Through here, I probably would have entered starters. Very low positioning, and then once this started picking up here, I probably would have started sizing in more. And then honestly, I probably would have never even, you know, played this whole move. I probably would have been out by like, anyone probably would have been out by like over here, or even over here. When you started getting a dip, there's no way you're holding full position throughout this whole move. But if you're looking at this off this yellow zone I had right here, which you all should have just copied, I probably would have entered over here and then maybe had a stop loss like below this yellow zone. I usually mark my stop losses on the chart. I don't do it on Robinhood. I don't set stops. I set it on the chart. And I have a mental kind of reminder like, all right, if it hits this red line, go to Robinhood, sell out. And that's kind of how I do my stop losses. I don't set it like, oh, you know, 20% drawdown because you probably would have triggered here. And then you would have never been in this trade. So what I do is I just grab a red line. I'm like, all right, this is my yellow zone I had. I'll probably sell if it comes down to here. And obviously it never did. So that would have been kind of a thing I would have done if I entered this trade. But yeah, it's kind of up to like if you have, it's kind of up to your sizing. Like someone who sizes heavy is gonna try, you know, might have sold out down here. Someone who sized correct would have just let it play out. Me, I probably would have been entering over here, and I would have saw this candle. Then all right, like let me see how the next candle closes. Saw this candle, be like, all right, like maybe we're actually holding it. Saw this one and be like, all right, we're definitely holding it now, and then ride it up probably like halfway. Uh, take a look at this. Yeah, Tesla's a good example here. Actually, was in this trade. I actually gave this trade out end of day. said around 3:30 that I liked calls. I think we were like over here, like 450. But what I remember was from the PDFs that, Tesla was actually looking. Let's see if I pull it up. I think I actually still have it charted. I was on the 5. So I actually played Tesla today, I think for 20%. But wait a second. Why is this? All right, I'll just keep like this. But I kind of saw this happening with Tesla. We were creating lower highs. So I kind of have this white line drawn here. And then around, it was like 310 or so, I actually called out that I like Tesla calls. I called it out in the training channel in Asgard, and I called it out in the bakery too. I saw we were kind of holding this trend line here as support, and we were breaking out of this trend and using that as support. And then what I noticed here too from the PDFs is that this was kind of looking bullish to me here. That we're using it as support and going upwards. And what I remember was when price is bullish, purple nodes add fuel to the fire. It's like there's a saying on one of the PDFs, like it's like adding, gasoline on fire, it spikes volatility. So I ended up, catching this whole move here, which was a $4 move, I think in like 20 minutes. And I had next week cons, but they went 25%. I ended up taking them all and selling out. But this is a perfect example. On Jex here, you kind of see this 470 lit. These are positive, so they might act as walls. We're not really sure, but 470 might be like tomorrow's price target. But if you go to VEX here, it looks a lot cleaner. We only see this 470 lit. We only see this 480 lit. So this would be something that I'm eyeing for tomorrow off for calls. And this is a perfect example of like VEX looking a little bit cleaner to use as like confluence. Yeah, so this is another major watch. Tesla map for me always looks dirty. It always looks like this, and for some reason, like it'll always still run up. I don't know why, but that's just how I guess Tesla is, and that's the data behind Tesla. But VEX looks very clean on this. Like just 470 is lit and 480. So I would be looking at this tomorrow 100% for calls, especially it being Friday. Tesla loves running on Fridays. I think that should be on everyone's watch. Even with that messy map here, I think you should at least send, if it looks good, there's no problem sending 1 or 2 contracts. And this move here to 470 could easily be 300, 400%. I think it's a very good motto. It's a very good eye to have. So I like Tesla for tomorrow too. Yeah. I don't know if I'd be surprised if it moves on Friday, to be honest. Tesla's one of those scam stocks where like they'll just chop throughout the whole day and burn premiums and then pump around 1 p.m. for like $15. It's a very hard. Tesla's a very interesting stock to play, but when it moves your way, it moves heavily. It moves fast. It moves really good. I think Tesla on Friday should be on everyone's watch list every week, regardless if it just chops and does nothing or actually moves. Same with, I mean, honestly, same with CoreWeave. Same thing. Same with CRCL. Those stocks are tough to trade, but if you catch them, you can make a lot of money because they move really good when they actually move, though. But that's kind of all I have. I mean, I'm gonna keep going till like probably 1:30 in the morning. Nico, if you want to get this over, if you want to take over again or end it or what?
Thanks, Giul, for going over some of that stuff. Let me
Yep.
see. So, on YouTube or on Discord, either way. Does anyone have any questions? Let me close this. Any questions? Anything that we still need to go over? I think a few people asked for index recaps. I'm gonna be working to release a YouTube video. I was gonna do a YouTube short. It just takes too much editing time. What I'm gonna do is just record basically a video for probably Monday and just say like, here are the 2 or 3 different trades I saw. Here's the reason why on the map, and I'll release that just as its own video.
Wait,
But I'll probably stop doing recaps because they just take a ton of editing time, and I think it's better for me to just release more recaps in general, even if they look a little worse.
Nico, why, why can't they just look at the daily index recap videos? It's the same exact thing.
No. So it's not for me to go. Well, it's not for them to just like. I mean, if they just wanted to replay the day, they just go look at the replays. It's just for me to say like, highlight a couple of points where there were good trades, and just highlight where I would have taken entry, what I was spotting on the maps, and just like go over my process through it. Because I think for a lot of people, what they're
Got it.
missing is just like us walking through what we see, um, and sort of with a bit more explanation. So I mean, I'll make a few of them if they're useful. I'll keep doing it. If not, I'll just stop it. But I do want to try a couple of videos like that. But like the recaps, I'm bad at video editing, so that stuff takes forever. Okay. Yeah, so any questions, or otherwise I'll probably cut it here. Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. Hopefully it was useful for everyone. And yeah, I'll do another one Tuesday. Palantir. Uh, Juice. Do you have YouTube? Are you subscribed to my YouTube? I went over Palantir. I'm gonna upload that YouTube video, and I'm gonna put in the description the order I went through all the tickers. And that'll help you can sort of scroll through and find it. But I think Palantir did look pretty good from memory. Yeah, so I'll I'll list the order I went through the tickers. I won't have timestamps though. It's that's too much work. I don't feel like putting timestamps on a 3-hour stream, but I'll give you the order I went through them so you can sort of scroll through, and based on that order, you should be able to find it somewhat quickly. So just give me 20 minutes to make that caption, and then I'll post that in the description. Juice. Okay, yeah. I'm glad it's helpful for y'all. And yeah, so if there's no other questions, I'll cut it here. Thanks everyone for listening in and sharing some of y'all's ideas as well. All right, have a good night and good luck tomorrow.